The way I have it is perfect black.
The perfect black.
Coffee, that is. What up? We're fucking back, dude.
What's up?
It's just kind of weird. It's weird for me because I happen to... I have a personality where when it's like if I'm into something, it's like all I'm fucking doing. Tunnel vision. That's like all I'm doing. And I got that way with my art lately. And I just fucking podcasting just fell to the wayside. And if it wasn't for homies like you guys being like, yo, what the fuck, Drew? Like, I have these microphones hanging up in here. And you guys checked me and were like, yo, time to get back on the horse. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to do it with you guys. We talked about it last time was Colin. Colin was here.
Yep.
Fucking November or December. See, it's all blurred to me now, but yeah. Cheers, boys.
Cheers.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
For those
We all got coffee.
for those who don't know, this is Shelby and Angel, both very good friends of mine from growing up. I would say both have some consistent ideas, social issues, but mainly you guys were excited to come in here to talk about one of Shelby's specialties, which is firearms.
There's actually a lot going on right now.
Yeah,
Just current events in general.
Yeah, we can do that. Shelby, I can see you at a natural, like right now you're close enough to the mic, but once you stand up straight, you're not. So scoot forward a little bit.
Thrust.
There you go.
Thrust.
Yeah,
There
we
you
want
go.
it to work. Okay. Shelby, why don't you tell us what's going on right now?
In regards to what?
You said there's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, I mean, any specific topics? I mean, there's definitely things happening in Virginia, Iran.
I don't. I'm
you don't
familiar
keep
with the
up with current
Iran
events?
situation.
Oh, okay.
I'm familiar with the
I
Iran
like.
situation.
I don't know
what's
what's going on.
What-
Virginia
what-
a lot better.
Virginia's
What's
pretty
going on? What's
crazy
going on
right
in
now.
Virginia?
Do you know? Have you
No.
seen? Yeah.
I purposely stay out of the way. Like anything that seemed like it was going to be Angel and Shelby related, I purposely didn't
Yeah, I
want
mean,
anything
this
to do.
doesn't have to be like the gun rights show or anything. But
Oh, nobody said it was going to
yeah,
be.
no, it's well, I don't know. I don't even know where to begin. Basically, Virginia, once known for being one of the like original colonies, known for Second Amendment rights, is now primarily run by Democrats, and they have recently introduced a slew of gun control bills, many of which the citizens of Virginia feel are unjust. And many of the laws that they are trying to pass would essentially turn many Virginians into criminals overnight. And so they
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
That's so heavy. What do you mean? Turn Virginians into criminals
Well, if
overnight?
you ban assault rifles,
Yeah, so what's the law that they're passing?
there's a lot. Like, I don't even know.
Really?
There's a lot. They're trying to turn it into California, essentially. And Virginians aren't having it. So they organized a big rally
How long ago was this?
yesterday.
I was gonna say yeah.
Martin Luther
Yes.
King Day.
Oh.
If you want, you like pull up a little thing on.
No.
There's,
I want you to tell me.
well, so yeah, there was a big rally, 2A rally. A bunch of Virginians got together, dressed in pretty much full kit. Many of them were carrying, ARs and.
The one dude was carrying that Barrett.
I was
That
gonna say 50
dope.
cals. Yeah, so there was 1 or 2 50 cals on the ground there, just kind of guys dressed up, kitted out, and yeah, they made a lot of people unhappy, but it ended peacefully. There was obviously like no one arrested, no
one's picking a fight with the 50
yeah,
cal guy.
well, but I think a lot of people, a lot of media outlets tried to portray it as, in some cases, white supremacist rally, and there were obviously an abundant, like, diverse group of people there. There's many different races, and trans rights, all different types and groups of people were there. So, anyways, yeah, there's nothing happened, nobody got hurt, no guns went off automatic, out of nowhere, whatever.
I didn't even hear about it.
And then well,
that's why though.
you can
That's why you didn't hear about it.
You could find stuff.
I didn't hear about it. What do you mean? Why didn't I hear about it?
Because it didn't go the way that the mainstream media would have liked it to go.
Yeah.
They would have liked for an altercation to break out. They would have liked for a random dude to come and shoot up everybody. They would have
Yeah.
liked for all that stuff, just like they were praying for someone to shoot up the Joker movie.
They wanted it to be like another like Charleston, like a
Yeah.
And
Because that shit sells. You know what's so weird? Before we move forward, something that just fucking blows my mind is when I'm in a position where I often find myself in position with people who I consider really smart people who haven't considered the idea that the business model behind the news is there needs to be news in order to give you and to take that news source, to take that source of information as the end all be all source of information is so fucking dangerous. It's so like it's scary because it seems like the craziest ideas. I'm gonna call it the mainstream idea, and I do believe that these ideas are fucking crazy because they're so. CNN is a perfect example. The other night, the Democratic debate, where they're like, I forget, Elizabeth Warren, didn't you? I forget exactly verbatim how it went, but along the lines of Elizabeth Warren, did Bernie Sanders say that a female could never be president? By the way, Bernie Sanders never say fucking anything like that.
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders has been marching since fucking before electricity, and Bernie Sanders, I never said that, and that should have been that. But I forget the next line, but the next line, CNN, the person who was forget the word prompting the debate, said something along the lines, just elaborated on the idea, like how did it make you feel when Bernie? It's just fucking crazy.
how did this situation that never took place make you feel?
Yeah, it's just really wild, and I don't see. It's hard for me to imagine like a unified America until we get this media situation figured out.
Yeah.
What they're doing is in my opinion, they're trying to play to essentially what is like the lowest IQ, like people who will see that and be like, oh yeah, totally, like that makes perfect sense. Which relating it back to what we were talking about earlier with the gun rights rally, there's a very famous Instagrammer, Sean King. Yeah, I'm gonna call him out. He posts video of guys from the rally. They happen to be like white guys. Actually, the person who's walking the front and kind of leading them is a very somewhat famous on Instagram. Firearms. He's like an organizer. He's just like a gun rights organizer. He like organizes, people to go to city hall meetings and just to like let it be known that like they don't agree with certain policies that are trying to be put in place.
Yeah.
So they're just like walking from like one place to another, and I don't remember the exact caption, but again, he tries to he's race baiting with like certain words, saying like talking about Trump's America, talking about just talking about like white supremacists in general.
For sure.
So, and like I should say, I'm by no means like a Trump supporter. I really dislike Trump. I will say that. But anyways, there's a lot of people.
By the way, I feel like that's the general consensus of Trump. I don't know anybody. I mean, I know it's like few, but I would say that the general population it kind of disagrees with Trump, and it's just kind of the whole the idea out there is that like I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people out there who are colored as hardcore Trump supporters when I've never really except for a select few, I've only met a few people who really, really like Trump, but I've heard from everybody who doesn't like Trump how much everybody loves Trump. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, they try to make everyone look like a bad guy.
There should be a distinction between okay, so here's what I said. I dislike Trump. I don't like him, like who he is as a person, but he may have policies or may take action that I agree with, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that I like him or like him as a president. There's a distinction between those two things.
For sure.
But what I can say for sure is that for me and many of his policies that he has even considered in terms of like gun rights, in the beginning when he campaigned, he was like, oh, I'm going to be, completely supportive of Second Amendment rights, and he's actually been worse than the previous president, who was considered even more anti-gun.
Really?
Yeah, so he has actually passed. I mean, he's done some good things, but he's just even said things publicly that have, in some sense, caused panic in the firearms community because saying certain things out loud like that can be damaging and
Yeah.
essentially, he has, in terms of like red flag laws, I think we've talked about before, right? So that's another thing they're trying to do in Virginia. But he said things such as like, take the guns and we'll figure it out later.
Yeah.
Which is a
Take away
complete
due process.
which is a complete violation of due process, which is again a constitutional right. And
Right.
so when he says things like that, Democrats can take that and be like, we're gonna go and pass these laws, and then essentially that's what we've been seeing in certain states.
Yeah.
And in other states that are that have the ability to, they're creating sanctuary counties and sanctuary cities, which are 2A sanctuaries. So any firearm laws that are passed by the state or federally, they don't have to abide by them because they basically staked out their claim and said, nope, we're like a 2A county.
And that means sanctuary, so that the city, isn't that fucking hilarious?
Well, it's just like what everyone's trying to do all over California and
the
everything.
neighborhoods
sanctuary
with the
cities for
guns. I'm
illegal
sorry,
people.
Angel.
No, you're good.
I have to clear this real quick because I
Yeah.
don't understand it.
Sure.
The neighborhoods with the guns are called sanctuary cities.
2A
saying that-
sanctuary.
yeah.
2A sanctuary city. Yeah,
Oh
that's
my
what they're
God.
calling it. It's
That your
basically-
laws that you're trying to pass that would literally make these law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight. They're saying we're not going to abide by those. We're not going to allow you to come in and take our rights away.
For sure.
And like sheriffs in these counties and stuff are literally saying that if it gets to the point where you even try to stop this, what we're doing in our own county, we're going to deputize citizens. There's going to give them the right to carry their weapons, basically.
Oh shit, like Tombstone.
Well, they could do that anywhere, but they're saying like if it comes down to it, we'll bust a move like that so that our citizens can protect
Can
themselves.
you do that? Deputize the fucking
can.
citizens?
That's what he said.
What?
He's the chief, man. He's
Why don't
like,
you be deputized?
I mean,
You seem
here's
perfect
the thing,
for
dude.
deputization.
That'll
could
never
be-
happen around us.
It could be like in the movies where like cop runs by and is like, hey man, you're deputized. Come with me. We're
That's
gonna
what
go
happened in
arrest-"
Tombstone, dude. That's exactly what happened in
I mean,
fucking Tombstone.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Uh,
crazy.
Well, there used to be a law in California. I'm pretty sure it's probably in many other states where if you're an able-bodied human being, if a police officer is in need and they ask you for help, you're required by law to help that police officer. Governor Newsom did away with that law. So
Who?
Governor Newsom. Gavin
Newsom, the governor.
Governor Newsom.
I don't know who that is.
Governor.
Wait, so there used
The
to be a law.
governor
This
of
is
California.
fun, dude. So there used to be a law where
Used to be law.
you
Posse comitatus.
Like a cop's getting beat up by a gang member.
Yeah, so
And he sees you and he's like,
you may have
Olin,
I choose you.
help me.
I choose
you
you.
might have remembered a while back a viral video. There was a
That sounds kind of legit,
there was some-
though.
there were
Like,
some cops that were wrestling on the ground with someone, and then there was like a security officer. She was like walking around and like filming them, and the cop was like looking up at her and was like, help me, help me. And she was just like filming and like didn't help him. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Do you
that's
remember
fucked. I don't.
Right.
I think that you
Now
just
imagine-
shouldn't let any,
Imagine
watch
if
anybody
you
get
were
beat up like
imagine
that.
if that security officer was the one that called the cops there.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I totally get the fucking law. It's crazy.
Well, it's not a law anymore.
Yeah. It's
Oh.
gone.
It's gone now.
Well, I definitely see. This is the thing. Is like these things are so complicated, right? Like even when you said Trump with the gun laws, like take them away and we'll deal with it later.
Yeah.
Even if that's unjust, that sounds like a panicked human who is dealing with a ton of fucking mass shootings and a bunch of fingers being pointed at him and is just like, take the guns, we'll deal with it later. You know, it's like I'm so glad that I'm sitting here trying to figure out like what I'm gonna paint later and not like what I'm gonna do about these like, fucking super complicated gun policies, and
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy,
it's
dude.
interesting. I think a lot of people thought that Virginia thing was going to result in like some kind of armed conflict, just based on what they were doing.
It would
But
be a war
it
zone.
was.
I mean, we were closer to that with the Bundys.
It was. Yeah, that's true. It was a.
The Bundys.
I think it was a perfect
What do you
example.
mean? What do you mean the Bundys?
Well, let me finish. I think it was a perfect example
Holy
of
fuck.
gun owners being responsible and organizing a peaceful protest. And
Yep.
even though they're being made fun of for their gear and attire choices, you know, they're exercising their right, and they have that right.
They were rubbing it in the other side's face, right? That's what the kit was all about. It wasn't like they were ready for war. They were just were like,
I mean, the thing is, too, like, talk about responsible gun owners, right? They went there, they peacefully protested, not a problem at all, and then cleaned up after themselves when they were leaving.
picked up the trash.
So, yeah, look at all these other rallies that are like, oh, feminist movement and like Me Too and all this other shit. And they go around and they trash these cities that they're protesting in.
Yeah.
All their shitty ass signs, all that stuff left everywhere.
Yeah.
Right? They could be protesting for climate change and then there's trash everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
These people that are the bad people, the people with the guns, literally were scraping the stickers off the ground as they were leaving because they wanted to leave it better, if not as the same as when
That's
they
a
got
good
there.
move.
And
That's a
they-
good move. You want people to take your shit seriously.
They fuck. You know, they like it's kind of one of those things where I totally forgot what the fuck I was just gonna say.
It's okay.
Fuck.
Because I got,
Dude,
I got.
So there's
you know
so
what the-
much right there that we already talked about that needs to be unpacked. So
I
like,
know.
all right, the whole media thing, right?
Uh-huh.
So mainstream media and what that gets put out. So it used to be that reporters would go on, they would report the facts of a situation, and it was
Right.
up to you as the public to come up with your own opinion of what happened, right? Now everything is so glamorized and like every one of those news pundits or reporters or whatever wants to have their own show. Like that's the end goal. So they have to be outrageous, over the top, polarizing, whatever it is to get the views, to get the likes, to get the follows. So that way one day they're going to have their Rachel Maddow show, whatever the fuck it is.
But
right?
nobody's even thinking for themselves though. Like, don't
No,
you
because
think?
they're no longer giving you the facts. They're saying this is what you need to think about
I mean,
this
the
situation.
people giving you the news. I mean, I feel like it's so backed by whatever organization they seem to be speaking for, and I say that in terms of if you turn on Fox, you're getting, you know what you're getting. You know, it's like you go to CNN, you know what you're getting. You go to MSNBC, you know what you're getting. It sounds like these people are just really are driven by, I don't want to use the word the machine because I sound like some fucking
Bert Kreischer.
tinfoil hat. Yeah.
No, dude, it's the truth. When you look at the very limited amount of companies that own all of the news outlets, all of the newspapers, all of the online news sources,
Tell me right
it's
now,
coming from like 5 companies.
Tell me right now, boys, does the Clintons own the fucking media?
The Clintons?
Yeah.
No.
Okay. I had to run that, but
The
I wanted to
Illuminati,
ask it.
man.
I wanted to, yeah, but are the Clintons Illuminati?
See, but the funny
You don't
shit about
believe
that,
that?
like Illuminati is like,
Sorry, everybody, I had to
ooh,
ask.
Illuminati, right? Everyone
I
thinks
had
it's
to
this big like conspiracy, but if you look back into the history of the country and like
Oh,
you look
hell
at
yeah, we're doing
the
this.
Federal Reserve
We're doing
alone,
this.
you look at the like 10 billionaires that snuck off in the middle of the night, that took a train, that went to the island, the Jekyll Island off the coast, the East Coast somewhere.
What year
literally
is this?
drafted, fucking,
Do it, Angel.
I don't know off the top of my head.
Fuck.
I just listened to the book though. It's called The Creature of Jekyll Island.
Okay.
And they talk about these
You can
billionaires.
round
that
it,
went.
dude. Like 1700s, fucking
The
600
Federal Reserve
BC.
came about like,
Probably 1800s.
yeah.
You know about this
Uh,
shit too?
No, I don't. I have no idea what he's
I
talking
don't
about.
even think it was that. I
You
don't
don't
even
want-
think
you
it was
said
that.
round it. You don't wanna-
I'm
I'm
saying
guessing
early
1800s.
1900s.
You don't want to
Early
get shot in the
1900s.
middle of the night.
But so they went, they snuck off, they
Don't get
created.
much.
You don't want to get suicided.
Yeah, well, hey, shit. Look at what happened with Jeffrey Epstein right now.
Bro, I fucking, dude, okay, I'm going to let everybody know right now. You can turn off this podcast if you're not into it, but I am totally into the idea that there is like some seriously corrupt shit going on. And Jeffrey Epstein knew a bunch of shit and somebody murked him so that he didn't fucking talk.
100%.
I totally believe that. I do not believe, I don't even know. I've heard crazy ideas. I heard ideas that, like, you guys know about QAnon?
Yeah.
I've heard about some shit in that community where like that Jeffrey Epstein's is actually in Guantanamo Bay right now, and they put a fucking body double in the cell so people would stop looking in that direction. He's already testified against all this shit for the impeachment trials. I've heard a ton of shit. I love it, dude. It's like one big fucking Tom Clancy book.
I think if there's somebody that can get away with doing a fake death, and it's funny because I look up and Tupac's right there, and I think about like all the conspiracy around Tupac, right? But he was a very powerful person. I know a story. So I've
Tupac or
no
Epstein?
Yeah,
Both.
I mean Epstein. Tupac wasn't that powerful. Tupac honestly is.
What are you saying?
Yo, this is a very unpopular opinion, but Tupac has now dropped down in my book, and I think Nipsey Hussle is way more of an influence of a powerful person and what you should be doing with your influence over Tupac. 100%.
I don't know either personally, but I have seen the videos of Nipsey Hussle, and I have continuously agree with his attitude and the things he has said on camera. Including one of my favorite videos of Nipsey Hussle is him at some rap festival or something, and the dude filming him is asking him why he's not having why he doesn't have any chains on. He's like, because I don't spend my money on chains. I invest in like things worthwhile, property. And,
bro, he was doing $1 billion deals when they killed him.
It's fucking crazy, man.
Did I tell you that
$1 billion
guy that
deals?
shot him? Yeah, $1 billion deals.
What?
Yeah. The guy that shot him used to work for me and Henry.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Dude, oh man.
Dude, you're involved in the conspiracy?
Wait.
Dude, I tripped out when I saw it. Yeah, it was a trip.
Really?
Yeah, so the guy that shot him, Eric Holder, right?
Are we allowed to say this shit? Are we gonna get
I don't know.
suicided?
I felt like that. I felt like when I saw his picture, like he had looked
Allegedly.
real familiar.
Dude.
Like I had seen him,
What?
maybe like somewhere I had been
What?
working.
So that's what I thought. And so I go, it was when we worked at Built down by USC, right? So we're in the hood.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows that USC is in the
Yeah.
hood. And when we first did our first round of hires, we took pictures of everybody so we can make a training board. We could learn their name and what the position that they were going to be in. So I
Yeah.
go back through my computer, and sure enough, there's that fucking guy's picture.
Shitty Loke.
Shitty Loke.
Oh my god,
Bro.
that's crazy, dude.
Blew my mind. I sent it to Henry right away. I'm like, bro, do you remember this guy? Is this the fucking guy that used to work for us? I'm like, dude, shit's going to come down on us.
Yeah,
We-
fuck.
we
He's gonna
fucked
trace
up.
back to the fucking burgers, dude.
Yeah, to the burger joint.
So wait, so is he in jail?
I fired him. I don't know, but I fired him, and
You
I was like,
fired
dude,
him?
I'm so glad that I never got like shot or anything. after
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
You fired the wrong one, apparently.
Exactly. See,
Oh
but
my
nothing happened.
God.
He was super quiet, super mellow.
Really?
He had a bunch of tattoos and shit, but like, I never thought anything of it. I for sure was like, okay, this guy's for sure in a gang, but I never was like, I never thought anything of it.
That's fucking mental, dude. That's
and then
crazy.
I fired him because he no-showed, no-called for like 2 days and then tried to come back in. And I was just like, yo, just not going to work, bro. Like,
That's really sad that Nipsey Hussle died, but that's really sad that a fucking really quiet dude tried to make a name for himself by killing somebody like Nipsey Hussle. And now like the entire world hates.
dude, they
this
killed like 3 of his family members that weekend. Like,
I know, including
all kinds
like
of shit.
his sister, right? Or
I think
some
so.
shit?
Sister, a cousin, somebody else, and like,
Shit's crazy, dude.
but anyway, so it's crazy how our brains work. We hit one
Rest in
topic
peace,
and it jumps
everybody.
everywhere, right? So, Jeffrey Epstein, I've been hanging out with a lot of like powerful people lately, and like people that are super wealthy and that have done some crazy shit.
Illuminati?
Nah, I'm not gonna say Illuminati, dude. I think
say-
everyone's idea of
you could
Illuminati and like what actually is going on is 2 different things. But this guy that I know was stuck in a foreign country, no passport, nothing, like, and he's got a criminal record, and so certain countries like they don't play that shit, and so he's stuck in this country, whatever, and so they're trying to figure out like how do we get this guy out? Da 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 da. Jeffrey Epstein shows up on a fucking helicopter, and this guy's so rich that he doesn't have to do flight logs. He doesn't have like that's why it's so funny that people got caught up on his flight logs going to that little pedophile island because there's ways to get around that.
Wait, are you calling it Pedophile Island?
100%.
Oh, it's Pedo Island, bro.
It's 100%.
Okay. Again,
Yeah.
I'm going to do my podcast host thing and not point any fingers. But what's up with the fucking shrine, dude?
Yeah, man.
That shrine is the weirdest fucking thing I've ever
It's-
seen. That blue
it
and
is-
white.
What
Like-
about that painting of Clinton too in like a blue dress?
Oh,
Like,
I haven't seen that.
yeah.
I haven't seen
It was like
that shit.
so when they were on the island, there was one room and this door was like open real quick, and someone snapped a photo of it, and it's Bill Clinton in like a blue dress that Hillary Clinton had worn in the past, and is
Bill
like
Clinton in a
he's,
dress?
like posing like super like seductively or whatever, and it was in Jeffrey Epstein's like private office area.
Oh
Someone
my
got a picture,
gosh.
and then like one of the housekeepers came and like slammed the door.
So I will say that when I say Illuminati, what I'm really saying is the powers that be.
The shadow state.
Yeah, just the powers that be like that fund a bunch of shit that causes disrupt.
Mm-hmm.
The same kind of people, if allegedly, if an active shooter was to happen around the same time an important trial would happen, important political trial, the powers that be would be
You're on some
Behind
Alex
that?
Jones shit.
no,
dude.
it's fun, dude. It's fun for me. It's sad that people die, but I forget who said it, but the idea that a shooter happens, I
False flag?
every time that there's something big going on in government or something.
Yeah, and this is not to discredit, and I need to fucking reiterate this. This is not to discredit the people who die at these things, because I would do anything in my power to keep that from happening, and I think Shelby agrees with me on that one.
I don't know. I get what you're saying. I think it's just coincidence, to be honest, dude. I think it just happens to be like, boom, like this is happening.
Okay.
And then the media picks it up, and then now everyone is a little bit more distracted by this tragedy rather than Trump and the Biden thing or whatever.
But
So-
it's like, yo, Epstein got what in his jail? Yo. Yeah, okay, whatever about that. But did you know UFOs exist?
Yeah, dude.
You know,
Smoke and
like
mirrors, dude.
you
Slide
know,
it
and
down.
I'm like, wait, UFOs? What? What about Epstein? It's like,
Yeah.
shut
Well, I
the
think
fuck up,
that
shut the
goes-
fuck up.
I think that goes back to like what he said. It's like the media that controls the narrative, you know? And,
Yeah.
and now I just remembered what I was going to say before about like the gun protesters. You know, they're like
I'm
trying
gonna
to
turn your camera, Shelby.
they're trying to portray, those gun rights protesters as like, for instance, unhinged. So people will, repost that on their Instagrams and their Facebooks and say like, oh yeah, these guys are unhinged, and then promote that narrative. And then they're essentially trying to pit people against people. They're, like these people have differing values and beliefs, and they're kind of like trying to pit them against each other. At least that's what I think.
What's more important to people, belonging to a group or actually believing in these beliefs? What do you think? Do you think the general populace really is down there believing?
I think belonging to a group is ingrained in us from years and years and years of evolution. And your belief system has only been around as long as you've been around. But the human consciousness, we thrived in tribes.
Fuck yeah.
You had to be a part of a tribe to survive.
Yeah.
For so long.
For sure.
So that's why people do want to fit in. People
We're
do
a
want to
community
get.
species.
Why not, dude?
We've never felt more apart from each other, too. With social
Social
media,
media has
we've never been
disconnected
more
people.
disconnected in the
Yeah.
world. So I think that, and I have to say, again, podcast host, I'm going to go fucking neutral stance, but I will say that there's a lot more people who aren't very well read at the Democratic rallies than there are the Republican rallies. And like people will go up to the Democrats with the phones and be like, hey, so how do you feel about this policy? And they'll be like,
You can do that going both ways, though.
Yeah.
That
That's
definitely hits both ways.
that's what I'm-
But they get caught with their pants down a lot more than the
Okay, so
conservatives.
I think, so that's what I'm saying. So out of chance, I've seen more evidence on the Democratic side. I'm sure you fucking asked me about Republican. I'm an idiot on both sides. I'm a political fucking Flintstone. I'm seriously an idiot. But I will say that this is when I see that, I can't help but feel like, oh wow, this is a very clear example of maybe people who aren't even sure what they fucking believe in, but are feeling
what did the news tell you that
the
night?
natural fulfillment of belonging to a tribe when maybe you have felt alone.
Well,
for a
the
while,
other
you know?
factor at play there too is also not just how much you believe in your beliefs, but also how much you're willing to say that out loud. For instance, like you were talking about being a part of a group. You might be a part of a group where, in some cases, there are instances where I'm in a group of people and I might be scared to share with them, some of the things that I do, right? That I shoot guns or whatever. For fear of judgment, that they might not want, they might be like, oh, this guy's fucking scary, let's go away.
Yeah.
So there might be certain cases where like I have not for me, I'm just saying some people might have beliefs, they might be involved in a group, but they might not be willing to share those beliefs for fear of judgment, or maybe they don't necessarily like you were saying, don't know what to believe and whether to believe in one thing or another. But they haven't necessarily had an opportunity to explore a different side and see, you know, like maybe that is actually what I believe. Maybe there are other good ideas out there that I haven't considered. And things
unfortunately, that feels like the second step. I feel like it's okay, pick a side and then kind of get the details on how I feel. It seems like the general consensus is to, well, if we're speaking on behalf of the people who jump right in, it's too bad we don't set up the idea where both sides ideas are okay, but you should take the time to really understand what you really feel for and feel that way fearlessly, you know, with like coffee sounds fucking good, dude.
For me, a big part of it is, dude, read. Like, reading has changed my life. Like, read a fucking book, because when you read and you at least expand your awareness of what's going on, then you can really have an opinion on the certain topics. Like, people, again, take a soundbite off the news.
But you got to read a good book, though, right?
I mean,
can't read.
Yeah,
like
dude.
anything.
Everything that I read is all nonfiction. Like,
I know.
I have 2 books sitting in my Audible right now that are fiction, but like one of them's like 1984. So like, you know,
George Orwell.
Yeah.
feeding that.
But everything that I read, like, is some way self-improvement, self-help, like, figure shit out and keep going.
That's the 30-year-old move, dude. I think at a certain point, you're
Next week, baby.
You're just really?
Yeah.
Damn, I got a couple months, but yeah.
That book you recommended to me about business E-Myth, that actually really did change my outlook on how I was running my business.
It's awesome, dude. Setting up some like standards and procedures, and
just everything in general. Like, actually, the story too kind of resonated with me too, because like, yeah, it's a good book. That's awesome. A very excellent. That was an excellent recommendation.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and then after that, I continued to get more and more audiobooks. And I was like doing more of that. Yeah,
it's adulting, bro.
Yeah.
Angels. I'm still trying to get my close homies to read books, but
I'm
not going that
that well. I think that it's important to get yourself on. I think that everybody should possess that, like, that track, you know, like I don't necessarily think, because I was doing almost the same thing you were doing. I was reading a lot of self-help. One of the books that sobered me up was The PMA Effect by dude from the Cro-Mags, John Joseph. And I forget if that's his full name, but you know, when you are in sync with that, read books, better yourself. I think it's important to. I think I did that for 4 months or so, and I kind of made it a habit to always be trying to advance myself. You know, I feel like what I've taken. So I smoked pot for 5-6 years or whatever, and I was a terrible stoner. Or I smoked weed for 10 years, but I graduated, and then that's really when your life starts for me. Is when I graduated college, because now I'm out of school, I'm trained in my field, and the world is my fucking oyster. I decided to sit around for 5 years and not fucking do anything. So I had to teach myself the things that I would have picked up on naturally had I spent time with myself, and everybody's different, spent time with myself sober and reflecting on why I felt the way that I felt. I really do believe that a lot of my teachers passed me because I was just friends with the teachers, and it was just kind of like a, hey, come on, man. Like, because I was.
You guys have Mr. Kirker?
Yeah.
Oh, that guy's the best.
I did have Mr. Kirker. Mr. Kirker actually was my tutor when I broke my leg in 2nd grade. My mom hired him to come to my house and to teach me.
He passed me because he liked my brother.
I was gonna say, good thing it wasn't Stivers, because
he gave me a good grade. Because
but anyways, you learn how to when you put yourself under a critical eye, and these books are a good way of doing it. It puts you putting yourself under a microscope and really analyzing why you do the things that you do, and taking the note from the people that you look up to. Who you look up to might be different than who I look up to, but I think that the effort and the push that we use to get there all comes from the same the same engine block. It uses the same muscles,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that's where those books, to get into self-help books, self-help is a weird way to put it, right? Because self-help makes it feel like you're like some like
you're depressed
yeah,
already.
you're at the end of your rope.
Self-development.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to put it. Development books. It's important to carry that mindset with you, you know, and to not stay stagnant in your development, because, you know, one day I think I only was able to gauge it by seeing my peers growing up at the same age I was and be like, man, this guy is so much more developed than I was. And I lean a lot back on that as the times I fucking leaned on weed instead of taking time with myself and developing. But these books, they really helped me put myself under the microscope and really try to figure out why I am the way that I am. And I don't think that I'll ever let go of that thought process where at the end of the night, like, I'm thinking about my goals and whatever they be, you know, and they could be fucking skateboarding goals. They could be anything, but these development books, man, it's a powerful tool, you know, and they don't teach you that shit in school. They don't teach you to like listen to the people, like to have people you look up to. That's something that I had to learn for myself, you know, like, because everybody, I mean, like, I got an older brother, but we're not like the closest friends or whatever. So I just kind of was cruising and kind of doing whatever I wanted to do. But it wasn't really until I surrendered myself towards the idea where, like, yo, I really admire these people to the point where if I had like little pieces of what they do in their life in my life, I think that would make me happier. But it takes some maturity to surrender yourself to that idea, because it almost feels like somebody else is invading into your life, you know? But once you do that, you're really able to be like, to start to shell yourself into something different than you originally were. Mm-hmm. And it's a scary idea at first, but it's only until you're really able to, you know, start a developmental process. Mine was the books, and like start to see that change start to form.
I think a big part of it is wanting more out of life, because, you know, you could say like, oh, I smoked a lot of weed and I just like to kick back and watch cartoons and shit or whatever, play games. But when you realize that like life's not slowing down, we're continually getting older, and then you look at like, damn, look what that person's doing, or like, so like for me it's like I wanted more out of life, and people call it like being like greedy or whatever it is, but honestly, like, I want to be wealthy. I want to leave generational wealth for my kids, my family. Like, I want to be able to send my grandchildren to whatever school it is that they want to be, and like not have to worry about. That's not something that's been in my family.
For sure.
My family is not, we don't come from money. We never like, but this year, me and my dad are making moves, dude. Like,
I know, I see that you and your dad are working together, huh?
Yeah.
That's
so
cool.
we're getting into real estate investing together.
Are you closer with your dad right now than you've ever been because of that?
112%, bro.
That's epic.
Yeah. Because also I introduced my dad to a different way of life, a different way of thinking. We did a 1-day seminar with Gary Vaynerchuk, Robert Herjavec, and Tony Robbins. My dad hasn't been the same since.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're like a year and 2 months since that point.
Good for him.
Dude, he's in a completely different mindset. He sees things that are possible in his life that he would have never thought of. We just got into a real estate deal. We're flipping a house in Westchester. We are surrounded by these amazing people who love and care for us unconditionally, that like we're strangers a year ago, that have accepted us into this group of like these people. I'm saying like these people are way up here, and me and my dad, like, you know, the average of all the people you hang out with, we pull that average way down. But they love us because in the time that we've spent together, they've seen our hearts, they've seen our mindset, they see where we're going, and they want to be around to support that. So like just through talking with people and shit, my dad, we have a meeting next week with Rick Ross.
What?
Like not the rapper, like the real Rick Ross.
Freeway Ricky Ross.
Freeway Ricky Ross, dude. So at one of the last, like we do like entrepreneurial dinners and stuff. We'll go out to one of our friends' house. He invites all of his entrepreneur friends. We get together. He was getting ready to pack up and move to Bali for 2 months. So he was like, hey, pick a book and like take it. So we're like looking through his bookshelf. My dad grabs his book. He's like, this looks dope. It's Freeway Rick Ross's book, like his autobiography or whatever it is. Yeah. Fast forward like 2 days ago, he's talking with this dude that does a all vegan soul food out of South Central, which is like where we're located.
For sure.
And because my dad's on this like eating better. He's been working out. We're with this CBD company that's no oil, so like helping getting the endocannabinoid system in rhythm with everything else.
Damn.
And in talking with this guy, my dad told him, you know, we're linked up with this girl Olympia. She provides organic fruits and vegetables to the food desert that's out there that don't have access to that. And he's like, you know, we wanted to start a community garden and all this stuff. And so that guy that my dad's talking to knows Rick Ross. He's getting a garden like donated to him. And so he sent a video of my dad to Rick Ross and then sent my dad the screenshot back of the text message like, yo, set up a meeting with this guy. We're going to make something happen. And on the
That's
back end,
rad.
we have a homie that has an organic fertilizer company. So like we're gonna put together like 4 different groups of people and like really make a change. In
Wow,
our
good
area.
for you,
Yeah,
dude.
I'm
Well,
super
good for
pumped.
everybody involved.
Yeah, man.
That's epic.
Super pumped. So life can always change. You don't have to be where you're at. You just have to want more. You know.
At what point was there a certain point where you're like, yo, man, I want more than this? Because I always have known you to be not a hustler, but as somebody who was willing to work hard so that you got paid as hard as you worked.
When I got not kicked, when I had to move out of the Hawthorne pad,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I just got out of the RV. I was living in an RV for almost 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got into the RV, I made a decision right then and there that like my life was never going to be that bad again, and I was going to do whatever it took to get out of that.
Oh,
Fast forward, I just moved into my house. We built a 2-bedroom, 2-bath house on my dad's property, so I have my own house in the back. Super fucking sick. I haven't like it's not like I don't have a couch yet. Like I have my bed and
Fuck
a
it.
TV,
fuck
but
a
when I
couch.
do,
I got rid of mine too.
everybody can come over and we're gonna have a good time.
That's epic.
But yeah, and then the first book I read was Think and Grow Rich, and that really changed my outlook on mindset and going after like having his own company. That's not something that just like comes to people.
Yeah,
you know?
I think a lot of people, you know, like you're talking about, it's not just like wanting it. It's also about the amount of effort that goes into getting those things. You know what I mean? A lot of
sure.
people maybe, you know, will think it's easy or maybe see people that make it seem easy. And maybe some people do have it easy. But the reality is it takes a lot of effort. And like, I think Angel's like, he can probably attest to being a perfect example of that, is that when you like stick with the hard work and you consistently think about every day taking steps towards your long-term goals and putting in not just the effort that like you think, but like the extra effort too. That's a big part of it, you know. And it's not just wanting it and not just believing that eventually it will come, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But that is also a big part of it because you have to believe that
I
your
feel like-
actions will lead to that.
It's like Chappelle talking shit on The Secret, right?
Yeah.
The Secret, you know, those hungry kids in Africa, just think about the turkey dinner and it'll happen. Like, no, like mindset is huge, but putting in the effort day after day is really what gets you to where you want to go.
You know, what helped me develop that mindset, that understanding, for lack of better words, is the fucking gym. And I tell everybody, like, because the gym is, and you're blessed with the hustler's mind, dude. I mean, you sound like you had it figured out by the time we were fucking 13, but the gym is a perfect way for somebody to understand how much juice comes out of each squeeze. You know what I'm saying? Because when you're at the gym, nobody's fucking running on the treadmill for you. Nobody's fucking lifting the weights for you. And your body will reflect whatever you put in.
Mm-hmm.
And fucking Henry Rollins said it best, is that the iron's honest, dude. Like when you go to the gym, it's fucking honest. It's if you're not fucking big, it's because you're not lifting or you're not eating right. And I was when I was dating my ex-girlfriend, 19 years old, dude. I fucking sat around on a couch with her for 2 years or whatever and fucking I was 220 pounds, dude. I'm fucking like I'm kind of bigger right now. I'm like 180 something, so a little bit of change.
I weighed 220 at one point.
Yeah, and I had to lose that weight, but it wasn't until I lost that weight that I understood that, well, when you decide, okay, no, fuck this body, like I need to change this shit, and you go and you put in that work, and it doesn't happen overnight, man. It's a fucking 5-month, 6-month long commitment, but when it changes, something gets branded into your mind, and that brand is, hey, look it, man, like if you want something, you got to go, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens like 6 months is when you start to see some change, and then it doesn't end at 6 months because you can put that weight back on. And unless you don't want to go back, you're going to keep working. And then once you learn that, you're able to apply that to anything. You know what I'm saying? And so anybody who's sitting around feeling stagnant, I always recommend the gym because it's a great, easy way for you. Because number one, I think everybody feels better after they work out. They go for a run or something. Number one. Number two, it's really a great way for you to see the fruits of your labor, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The neurochemicals that are going on when you're working out, when you're moving, when you're out in sunlight is huge for like people that are feeling depressed or whatever it is. Like literally movement and breath could change your life.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you guys have heard of Wim Hof.
Yeah.
Dude, Wim
just a lot of
Hof is a
research
gangster, bro.
about breath work. There's another like guy around here, I forget his name, Brian McKenzie or something like that, but he does like, I think he has an app called State. I haven't used it yet, but I downloaded it, and it's sort of like exercising your breath work. I think you're supposed to try to prolong the duration of like your exhalation. So how long you take a deep breath, and then how long you breathe out for.
Yeah.
And then some people can do it for like a couple minutes. Like they lay down on the ground and they are breathing out very slowly for like a couple minutes.
Shit feels good.
It teaches your body to better regulate oxygen in the blood and like all these different things. Helps promote all these health benefits. And there's actually a lot of research about how it has benefits and how it can just help general health, and then also, you know, mental clarity, stress, you know, coping with stress and things like that. Pretty cool.
Yeah, man. Wim Hof broke all kinds of records for swimming under ice, submerging his body like up to the neck for like hours in ice and like ice cold water. He ran in shorts and like barefoot above the Arctic Circle. He ran a marathon. And then he ran also like in shorts and barefoot and like Death Valley,
playing the guitar.
Yeah. Death Valley, so like the hottest desert with no water, ran a marathon.
Yeah.
Like gangster. His biggest thing where they've like scientifically tested it is he injected himself with Ebola, and using breathing and everything stopped it.
What?
Stopped everything. So then they did, okay,
What?
maybe this guy's just special. They did a control test. Half the people he taught how to do it, half the people he didn't teach, they injected them all with Ebola.
What?
And half the people got out of it, and half the people were sick as shit.
And died, or
They
what?
didn't die, but they were able to get medically treated after that. But the half the people that he taught were able to stop all symptoms, all everything with just breathing.
That's fucking crazy.
Nuts.
That's fucking crazy. Yo,
Nuts.
I'm never signing up for that study ever. Somebody's like, yo, I got some breathing techniques.
Yo, we're
but
gonna
I'm
hit you with the Ebola real quick.
Yeah.
So.
I got some breathing techniques, but I'm gonna cut you in half.
How crazy is that? I
That's
think you would be
fucking
more
crazy.
into if you look up pranayama, which is just another like breathing technique. I think
Yeah.
that's more your style.
Pranayama.
Yeah.
Well, I used to meditate, and you know, I really feel like this art that I'm doing, I lie in a groove of fulfillment where I've kind of like I've stopped doing a lot of the things that I was doing to keep myself quote unquote spiritually centered, because every time I sit down and I'm fucking in the mode where I'm about to paint and I'm getting myself creatively together, and I think maybe I'm lucky because the thing that I love doing is a creative work and I'm not like sitting down and doing finances or some shit, but whenever I sit down and I'm getting ready to do a piece, I fucking feel in line, dude, and I'm excited, and the music going, and fucking time is just whipping by.
You're in the flow state.
I'm in
dude.
the and I'm just like,
It's a great book.
and time will come where like it's time for me to go run, but I'm like, fuck running, dude. I want to paint, and then all of a sudden it's nighttime, and then I've been working from home, and I don't have to be anywhere, but there's not one day where after 7 I'm fucking still in bed, because I get up and I'm so excited to do fucking work, man. I'm like, but I let go of like, I used to meditate, I used to run, and I'm running after this fucking podcast because I'm just getting a little heavier. But I'm a big thing for me, on top of like, I think that the main purpose in life, and I guess we're going big bullets right now with the big main picture in life, but ever since I have found something that felt fulfillment, and I don't know if that's like creative or anything, it might be something different for you, but I guess you called it the flow state, is ever since I have found that and have found out how to put myself into that groove, man, I fucking like all of a sudden, like all the things that like needed like me to like keep in sync, like I was meditating a lot when I had a job that I didn't like. When I had a job that I didn't like, I was constantly working out because I was fighting away the fucking uglies. You know, I was like, fuck, man, like I don't want to fucking work. I'm just going to go to the gym and let off some steam. But ever since that, I've just been focusing on my art and I've just been mindset like, yo, one day I'm going to work at a fucking studio and I'm going to make Grand Theft Auto 7. Like I'm going to be on the team. My name's going to be in the fucking credits. I'll work for any fucking game, but Grand Theft Auto 7 that doesn't exist would be fucking tight. But it's just ever since that happened, I have found myself like being way less dependent in the ancient traditional methods of keeping me grounded and centered. And I don't know if that's just me finding something that I find so fulfilling, or I don't know if I'm being neglectful and still should do those things and not get caught up in like, I don't know, dude.
You should rock out a Grand Theft Auto 7 picture and just start tagging them in it, Rockstar Games and stuff.
I should just start
like
making
concept art and just
I should just start making their game for them.
100%.
That would be fucking
100%.
epic.
When you
Where's it gonna take place? What city?
Oh yeah.
Tokyo.
It's gotta be. You gotta make one up. It's gotta be modeled.
I heard the new one is gonna be in Tokyo.
When you do like, so I've seen a couple things that you've posted on Facebook. When you like go into it and you start with like a blank canvas, right?
Kind of.
Do you have an idea going into it?
I always do.
What do you get like that?
So I have dreams, and this has always happened to me. And
you're weird, dude.
I'm super weird. I have these things called dreams, and no, but like on some realness, I have dreams, and this is why I love concept art so much. Is I have these like caliber of dreams that fucking shake me, man. Like I'll wake up. I've woken up from dreams feeling sad that I'll never see friends that I've met in a dream that doesn't exist. I have mourned. I've been at friends' funerals that don't exist. I have these super lucid dreams where I'm on the beach, like looking up, and I look over and there's fucking planes flying overhead, and like I've looked out my balcony door and I've seen water flooding down the fucking street and like cars being run, like total tsunami.
Yeah, you got issues, man.
Yeah, I totally have issues, but it's harnessed through the grasp of art, which is the only way to do it. I have an idea of what I like to see, and what you were talking to me about where I get my inspiration for my art. I am super into the emotional, like I think what's most fulfilling, I think what's most interesting to me as far as subject matter for art goes is somehow depicting like the emotional pull of like a war zone, like that we're all just like people, and right now like you were able to go get a Gatorade and we're having a cup of coffee, and like you're doing this work with your dad, but like everything's different if you live in an occupied society, you know. And I like to portray that, like, because that's what I'm good at, man. I've always been a musician. I've always like I'm a really sensitive, emotional dude, and like emotional pulls on like that, like on like the throes of being a human being, like whether it be like in war, but like we still have requirements in times of war, you know. We still like have family, we still have friends, we still like feel things. And that contrast, I don't know, I love it. I've been doing a lot of war stuff right now. I fucking love World War II. I don't love that World War II happened, but I think that I'm fascinated by it. I'm fascinated because I grew up and I didn't know how many Russians fucking died, man, until like a couple years ago, dude. Like I now considered, and rest in peace, obviously the Jewish Holocaust is one of the most terrible things to happen to the human race, but so many Russians died. I mean, if you were just to look at the war from if you cut out America and the Holocaust, not to downplay the Holocaust. I don't want anybody to get overly sensitive about this, but if the story was just about Russia defending Russia against the Nazis, that's a fucking already like one of the craziest stories of all time. And not even, I mean, and the idea that Japan marched all the way to fucking India, you know, people don't know that. Like, there's just so much, and I think that I just had my America blinders on. I grew up thinking that America fucking, this is our war now, bitches. This shit's over with, you know? But so much happened, and it wasn't until I really delved into it, and I love the tanks, and I love the guns, and
I get a little bit of like some of your stuff has like a little bit of an apocalyptic vibe. Like,
yeah, and like I'm a huge, I think that there's always that like thank goodness moment, like thank goodness like the US got involved, because what if they, like, there's always these like, and in life there's these moments where it's like it just seems like just like a split like tilting the other way, and like the world's on the brink of disaster.
Yeah.
You know, and I love playing with that idea, and I think that the concept art is a cool way to dive into that world without having to dive into that world, you know.
I want to see some of the Hong Kong stuff come out of you.
The Hong Kong, I have some Hong Kong like reference,
yeah.
but I don't
you should go to Tokyo and just like see some like neon shit. And
yeah, I mean, like, I have a lot. A big part of it is like I pull a lot of reference, man. Like, so when I get an idea for something, I usually number one, I'm a huge fan of movies. Like straight up the first one. I don't know if you guys remember, but Hook, dude, the movie Hook.
Yeah.
When you first see Neverland,
You kind of look like Hook.
and yeah, thank you. When you first see Neverland, and you're like, oh my god, like how like what the fuck is this place? And you're fucking trying to look. You're staring at your TV, but you're trying to
look around.
You're trying to look over the rock because you want to know what that fucking lagoon looks like. I fucking love that feeling, man. It happened for me again when I was a kid, and you see Hogwarts for the first time when they're on the boats, and you're like, look at that goddamn castle, dude. Oh my god, and you want to be in there, man.
Have you been to Universal?
I haven't, dude.
Dude,
It's actually my Christmas
You
gift.
would love that shit.
I'm putting it off. I've been putting it off because I just want it. Like, I have to go during the week. I have to go with my girlfriend. She's working Monday through Friday,
Yeah.
so she would have to take a day off. But yeah, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan because I have to become number one. I'm a much better fan than I am a critic. I tell anybody who has spent regular time with me, mostly my dudes in my bands, knows that I will not stop saying things are my favorite. Have you heard this band? This is my favorite band. This is my favorite band in the whole world. I say that about every goddamn band in the world. And I'm just a huge fan. So I love watching movies and feeling inspired. I love watching sad movies and feeling inspired. I love talking to friends. I love going to museums. And Washington, D.C. was my favorite trip in the whole world because when you see an actual space shuttle hanging from the fucking ceiling, you're like, dude, people fucking sat in that. And then all of a sudden, I can't help but be like, dude, what does it feel like to be strapped into that, like, and to go up there and like knowing that like you have a family at home, you have all these things, but you're leaving those things all behind on this fucking, you'll be all the way, like, I love it, man. And I tried to get this bone across with my music. I ended up playing the drums because I was tired of playing with people who there was no drummers ever growing up. I'm sure that's why you learned to play the drums.
Yeah.
It was just, and everybody knew how to play guitar. Everybody was, you could teach fucking your mom how to play bass, but nobody played the fucking drums. So, and that was my first give in. I was like, well, like I could make records. And me and my friend John Lundeen, we wrote this one record, and god damn, it was stupid. It was like every song like had this weird intro where it's like heavy breathing and like a fan in the bathroom, because like we're trying to depict this like person in a bathroom who's like looking at himself in the mirror, but it's a song, so you don't see any of it. It's just like was super weird. And but I love,
play that right now?
no, dude. But I
setting up the music video.
yeah,
before.
but I loved making like conceptual ideas, and now like I just fucking buckled down, and I can't stand working with numbers. I can't stand doing like production work. Like I can't stand anything but using my imagination, man. And just like I would rather be poor forever than to just like put that shit away, because this is the only thing that makes me feel like I'm in sync with myself when I'm doing my concept art. And it's not so much that I like love art, I just love using my God-given imagination, man. And I love like feeling for these people I've never met before. And I love like today, the painting I did today where the person's begging, like I love looking at this piece and like trying to imagine like how that person feels getting up and begging in this town where it's locked down and these guards march through every day. And like, and for a second, like I spend all day at home, but for like a couple hours a day, I'm not here, you know, I'm there. And that's, you can't like, and that's the greatest sell. Like, I don't want to do anything else, because it's time travel, you know?
I mean, to be honest, dude, I think you found the winning equation, or whatever you want to call it, the formula, because like you said, dude, there's not a day that you're in bed past 7.
Yeah.
Like your drive, your passion literally gets you out of bed and you want to go to work.
Yeah. But
now
it's
we
not
just need
work.
to find a way to monetize.
Yeah, for sure. And that's the hardest part. And like when we say monetize, like like I'm, you know, I still struggle with that. Like, what is monetize? Like I want to be able to, of course I want like all of these crazy things, you know, like, but like, am I in a position where like I can where I can make all those crazy things happen in my life, like, and do what I do? Or do I got to sacrifice some of that for the greater picture, you know, for like my grandkids' sake and this and that? So
I feel like you can make it happen. I think I just watched like this dude give a speech, and he talks about all the dreams and solutions and stories and everything that's buried in the cemeteries, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think it's your duty, I think it's your responsibility to put your stuff out there, because you never know, like that one picture or one emotion that you're creating could be the thing that really helps somebody.
For sure.
So the fact that you're not like, you're like, oh, I don't want to sell it to people, but you never know. Like, somebody could buy that picture, that painting, whatever, and it could be the thing that hangs in their office that gives them the drive to get up every day.
Do you post it on your Instagram?
Yeah, all the time. What I'm hoping is somebody's like, "Yo, man, like that's the fucking scene. That's the scene from the movie."
Yeah. A lot of your stuff could be in like books, you
Yeah,
know, or like,
yeah,
you know, whatever.
I want to just like, so the goal is I think is I'm sitting around there and a bunch of people who, I don't know, a lot of people in suits, you know, who are just investing in the movie are just like, this is what we need. I need a movie about a fucking Indian kid who moves to the United States and he's got to do this, but he's on lockdown. There's a curfew and everybody's terribly racist, but he wants to fucking be in a rock band and like blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And I go and take that information and portray it. And they're like, this is the scene right here. And there's fucking 10 of us, right? There's 10 other like-minded individuals. It's not just me, but I'm in charge of, you know, this kid, like, I can already see the fucking scene. It's like a line of houses and all the lights are off in every house, but one fucking window has the light on it. And you can see the kid in the house with his guitar, you know, and it's like, it's my job to give these people the ideas. And then my ideas are then, you know, my paycheck is paid by a movie company or whatever.
My cousin's climbing the ladder at Fox right now. He was all security. Now he's getting into the film production side.
Really?
Yeah, Gordy. I'm pretty sure you know
I
Gordy.
know Gordy. I thought he was being a model or something.
He's gone a lot of different ways, but
that's what
right now he's at Fox. He's climbing the ladder. He's going to be involved with movies, and you never know, dude.
That'd be sick.
Maybe, you know?
Honestly, I think that like see what's kind of fucked up is like I started painting like a year ago, and like, but I just like I am taking what I have learned through all my other things, through my self-help shit, through what I've learned at the gym, and I'm just in my competitive drive, because I'm super competitive. I just have taken that and I'm fucking applying that to all of my art, and now I just like I just want everybody's job, and like I know that I'm behind, and so I'm working 5 times like harder and faster than everybody else is.
Stay on it, bro.
Yeah.
One of my favorite pictures is a picture of Travis Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's that guy. I don't listen to his music. There's a couple cool songs that I like, whatever. But
Sicko mode.
It shows him like it's like 2015, and it's him rapping on stage with like 6 people in the audience. And then it's like 2019 and he's there in front of like fucking 25,000 people.
It can fucking happen, dude.
Like, dude,
And
stay on, because the time doesn't matter. It's the effort and the exponential growth, the compounding effect that you're doing every day, getting up, putting in your heart and soul into that shit.
yeah.
You're gonna surpass people that have been doing it for 20 years.
What I can't wait to do is to fucking start paying my friends like in like really crazy situations. Like, so I'm gonna start incorporating my own photography into it, and like paying over the photography. But like now I've figured out a way I can like superimpose like my friends like into like really crazy like war situations.
Shelby can
I
fit
was
into
gonna
like
say, I'm like thinking about all the pictures I have.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Do it.
Yeah.
Feel free to use mine.
Yeah.
I like the one with the
That would
blood
be cool.
squirting
Yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. You could like,
Yeah.
you could totally like add a sick background to
Yeah,
that, right?
yeah, well, it's not even a background, dude. It's like I know how to like because I study the figure and like lighting and shit. Is I can impose like people like my mom like into like parachuting like off of a fucking whatever, dude. Like I don't know. And I think that'd be very funny. But I love video games. I would love to be a part of video games or movie. This is just what I'm doing right now in my life. I fucking change every fucking year, but I came up with this idea. This is the first like thing I've wanted to do since I've sobered up, and I always envied my friends growing up because on their Instagram profiles it always said, I'm gonna use my friend Austin. Shout out Austin Marchant. What's up, dog? It is Austin Marchant, Clippers Nation, golf, whatever fucking other stupid things you're into, dude, and then Anaheim Ducks, whatever. But I always envied that I had friends that like knew exactly what they were fucking about, and I spent my whole life, and I think this is why a lot of me smoke pot. Like I smoke pot a lot is because I didn't really know who I was, dude. I really suffered from like an identity thing. Had a hard time like putting a finger on like who exactly I was, and I think that's why I get so excited to paint stuff because it's the first time where I feel like I'm in sync with who I want to be. You know, trippy, bro.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, super trippy. But yeah, that's what I've been up to. Sorry I haven't been podcasting. Everybody. I'm excited to do it, dude. I think I don't know, man. It was kind of it just was caught up in the hustle.
It didn't run its course yet, though, right? Like
What?
podcasting.
No, I'm podcasting right now.
Okay.
You're on a podcast.
Just wanted to make sure it wasn't over.
No, fuck no. I would love to do it, and I want to do it forever because again, like the reason that the reason I started podcasting in the first place is because number one, I get for a few reasons. One of the main ones is selfishly, I get so caught up in my own world that I love hearing my friends talk about their lives because it reminds me that like I'm not just like in some fucking VR experience where it's just me running my program. You know,
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah,
Musk would say that you are.
Yeah, well, yeah, but. And I love number one. Number two, I think that it's super important that in a time, well, we're getting older, so it doesn't happen as much anymore. But I think in a time where like everything is text message and social media, that I think it's important to get some FaceTime with people and force yourself into a fucking 2-hour long conversation. I mean, like even when we started this conversation, I mean, you can tell how much I'm running my mouth now, but I had like there were some cobwebs on me, man. Yeah, I lost track of that muscle. Like you forget how to talk to people, but if you texted me, I could have texted you all day. You know, it's weird. It's like there's this, don't we have an organ that like we don't really use? Is it appendix? We have like
there's a couple things in there.
Appendix does some stuff.
Okay, well, it's
People
like
get their gallbladder removed all the time.
You're probably thinking of gallbladder.
Okay,
like
gallbladder. So
tonsils,
it's like I feel like my talking muscle is like
it's atrophying.
Well, yeah, it's at risk of becoming like a benign muscle, dude.
Yeah.
You know, especially in a time where like I'm just at home working all the time. So it's important that you keep the dream alive. I think everybody should have a fucking podcast. Honestly,
on it. I just got my office, so now like again in my office,
You
all
need
that's in
one.
there is my desk and a rebounder, which is like a personal trampoline. But I mean, trust me, I want to get the list of your equipment here and try to replicate something similar.
No, I will come over and build it with you.
There we go.
Yeah, you need one.
Dude, I have.
You're the kind of guy that needs one.
I have some people that like I'm associated
You guys
with
can
now.
sit
that,
around
dude, I
talk
would
about
fucking
caviar and
love
fucking
to-
$1 million deals.
we're not there yet, but
Listen to me talk about you being an ex-stoner
Dude, no,
and fucking concept art.
trust
dude.
me, I wanted to come over here because I mean, the big thing is I was excited to talk more about guns because
Yeah,
We can get back to
yeah, I
that.
was gonna say
I'm-
we should.
I'm not by any means a guns expert. I know that I like guns. I know that I like
I'm
my
not
right
either.
to own guns. And I will give you the most extreme case. When we were talking about beliefs and groups and stuff.
Uh-huh.
There's nothing that could happen that would change my mind about the right to own weapons and protect myself. Like, God forbid something happened. There's a shooting around here, and when somebody in my family was killed, right? I wouldn't be like, oh shit, all of a sudden guns are evil. Like, let's take everyone's like. I would never. Like, there's nothing that can happen that would say that I'm gonna give up my right to bear arms.
I just want a fucking gun if somebody else has got a gun shooting at me. That's kind of like what it comes down to me. Is like, it's like, yeah, but what if that person didn't have a gun? Okay, yeah, that'd be fucking awesome. But that dude's got a gun,
Yeah,
and until like, and I want a gun.
the government will always have guns.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, there's
and the Illuminati. Let's do it. Let's bring it
so
back.
many angles.
Let's bring
There's-
it back. Illuminati.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of angles to that. I mean, the just even with the whole, people are like the whole rally, back to the rally where people were carrying guns in public, and I was looking at Instagram comments and things like that. This is not normal. This is so dangerous. People shouldn't be carrying weapons in public, and I'm like, police officers carry weapons in public every day.
For sure. But they want
And-
to take guns away from those dudes, make them like UK bobbies, right?
There is a movement for that. There's a movement to change the use of force policy in California. There's a lot of yeah. I mean, the thing about the way law enforcement is right now, and some protocols that maybe some people don't understand or disagree with, is that a lot of them are written in the blood of dead officers. People were killed, and they were like, "Oh, how can we prevent our officers from being killed? We got to do this, this, and this." In some cases, police officers are justified in shooting a fleeing suspect in the back. For instance, take an active shooter situation. Someone just killed a bunch of people and now he's running away to go kill more people. You can shoot that guy in the back.
That's the law, right? You can do that.
There's very specific case law that is
What?
referenced. Well, yeah, no, yes, you can. But you have to be justified, right? Like,
Okay.
you have to be justified to shoot somebody in the back. But I mean, this is a
You have to
question.
be justified to shoot anybody, right?
This is yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This is a question that I'll ask security officers or people that I'm training. I'll ask them straight up, "Can you shoot someone in the back?" And they'll say, "No." A lot of people will, "Oh, no, you can't." But there's a number of examples that we can give in which you would be justified. It's different when you're talking about law enforcement. And I think we kind of covered this a little bit in maybe some of our previous podcasts. But getting back to what I was saying is that a lot of the things that people disagree with, they don't necessarily understand the reasons why they exist. And so, yeah, there's like a lot of controversy where people will see, for instance, the 2A rally in Virginia and say like, hey, that's dangerous or that's not normal for people to be walking around with guns. When the truth is, especially in Virginia, there's a lot of people who are carrying firearms around them in public everyday life, and they don't even know it because it's concealed.
Is that legal?
In most states, I mean, California is very strict. They
You're
don't-
allowed to have a gun packed in your clothes, and you can't
yeah,
see it.
so concealed. Yeah, concealed carry in some states, for instance, Alaska, Arizona.
What's the process to get a gun to be able to do that?
Well, so
Is it tough?
this is what I was going to say. In Alaska and Arizona and some other states, they have what's called constitutional carry.
Open
So the
carry.
way so this is different than open carry.
Okay.
Constitutional carry. Most states that have constitutional carry will also allow for open carry. Constitutional carry specifically refers to the right to bear arms, to carry a concealed handgun without a license. So some states interpret the Constitution as simply that. You have the right. Once you're 21, you own a firearm, you can carry it on your person at all times. You don't need a license. There are other states that might require you to have some training or to go through some sort of background check process in order to receive a permit in order to do that. California is very, very strict. If you live in a county that is 2A friendly, you might be able to get one. But we have to actually, here in California, we have to actually go to our local police department, local sheriff, and apply for that permit. And in most cases, people will be denied, especially in Los Angeles. So something that we've been fighting for in California for a while is to get that right back. There are other permits, for instance, like Utah. If you have a concealed weapons permit in Utah, that will cover you in 30, I think it's 33 or 34 out of 50 states. So other states will accept that permit.
Just Utah?
Utah is just one that has
The most,
reciprocity in many states.
So Utah's money's good in 35 other states. What about like if you have is it vice versa? Like
No. So it is different everywhere. So like, for instance, if I get one here in California, that doesn't mean that I can go carry in other states. I have to look and see which states will accept, or it's called reciprocity, which states will accept my permit and allow me to carry in their state.
And Utah's money's good
So
everywhere?
here's not everywhere.
35.
35. So here's the argument. It's, if I can have this permit from Utah, which is good in all these other states, why can I not carry this in this state when it's a constitutional right? That's the argument.
It's just so complicated, dude.
Kind of, but not really.
Oh, my bad.
People like me who are 2A absolutists say there should be no permit. There should be no gun laws. There should be no regulation. And we should be able to carry and have whatever firearms we want at whatever times. Like, I personally don't believe that there should be any restriction on being able to carry firearms in public.
Why? So I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Sure.
Why?
Why would you fuck with somebody that has a gun on them?
Well,
true, but what's a society look like where everybody's strapped?
I mean, we
A lot
pretty
less
much
issues.
We pretty much already have that, and I'm not talking about everyone carrying like open carry.
But
Personally,
what about these fucking people at the anarchists at fucking rallies who are fucking throwing bricks at banks and shit?
Yeah,
Even
well,
if
if
you're
you
just
walk
like
around like that all the
Antifa
time,
and
you're
shit.
probably kind of an asshole, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not. I doubt that most sane individuals would do that, and
For sure.
And I mean, yeah, what would that look like in the future? We don't know. Obviously, that would probably.
You wouldn't want those guys to have guns, like if they have a criminal record, right?
Well, here's the thing. What if they've already served time? They did their time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
See,
don't know.
boom.
I
There
don't-
you go.
I don't
See,
know what
I
that
like
looks
that
like.
look there. See,
But a lot of people who are institutionalized, I mean, like that's a whole nother can of worms,
Okay,
right?
well, yeah, I mean,
because
here-
institutionalized is like
Sure.
a thing. You kind of they need to do like
Well, you got to look at what was the crime.
for sure.
How much time did that dude?
For sure.
Were they rehabilitated or not?
And
Like,
what is
if you
some-
went to jail for shooting somebody, then you served your time. I don't think that you should be able to come out and get your right to own a gun back.
Well, for sure after a mental evaluation, but
Well,
which
there's
is-
so there you go. We're talking about a whole bunch of different things. We're talking about people with past criminal histories, and now we're
Yeah.
talking about people with mental illness. If a person is known
Well-
to be dangerous, I say we make sure that they don't have
but
firearms.
are they
should be
connected?
kept in
Like
jail?
are people who come out of jail to in a minute scale, is that suffering some mental damage? Because a lot of people would argue that coming out of
So here-
jail after a long time, being locked up for a long time, you come out different and have a hard time adapting into
But
society.
wouldn't you be rehabilitated? Isn't that what it's called?
are peop-
Rehab.
Are
Like-
people rehabilitated?
But that
I don't think in America.
But that's the point of going to jail, right? Is to become. That's why they call it corrections and rehabilitation. So if you go and you serve your time, you commit some crime, perhaps a violent crime, maybe armed robbery.
For
You didn't-
sure.
You didn't shoot anybody, but you used a gun in the crime.
for sure.
You go. Maybe you're reformed. Maybe you find God. Maybe you get a lot of help. Maybe you get the help that you need to
Maybe
be
you
reformed,
fight-
and you come out rehabilitated.
Maybe you fight gang members every
Does-
day fighting for your life, though, dude.
Okay, but hold on. That's a different set of circumstances.
For sure.
Let's go back to the set of circumstances that I'm speaking about.
Sorry.
If that person gets
Got
out
excited.
and he's like straight, right? I'm
Okay.
good now.
Yeah.
Why should that person not be afforded the same right to protection and defense of their family that everyone else in the world has? Or not in the world, but in
Agreed.
America.
How often is that happening, though?
But so you can't say, oh, because it's not happening often, we shouldn't allow that.
No.
I agree that it should be determined on a case-by-case basis.
For
If-
sure.
If
I
dude
think-
is MS-13 and we know that if he gets released, he's just going to go kill more people, like, yeah, cool, let's not sell guns to this
Yes.
individual. But at the same time, I also believe that people who take selling firearms seriously can make good judgments when someone walks into their store and says, "Hey, I want to buy a firearm for such and such purpose."
For sure.
I think that
So you do believe that there should be like a mental evaluation process when somebody
not
comes in?
necessarily.
So anybody should be able to buy a gun.
Yeah.
You should have the right to have your weapon until you do something deemed necessary to not have that
See,
right
there-
anymore.
I would even
Like
say,
buying a PS4?
I know. Yeah, no, like, so I know I have kind of maybe like an opinion that's kind of
I'm playing
not
devil's advocate.
not common, right?
Okay.
Like giving criminals the right to own firearms back.
For sure.
I understand that might, to some people, like they would like may not necessarily agree with that.
Okay.
But like I just said before, I think I personally have not been convinced that all criminals should not be able to own firearms. I do agree that there is a vast majority, or like I would say like a long list of crimes that if you have committed such and such crime, you should not be able to own firearms. However, I don't believe that your everyday citizen should be objected to some of the laws and regulations that we are currently objected to. I don't think that we should have magazine capacity limits. I don't think we should have limits to purchasing firearms, how many we can purchase in 1 month or however long. I don't think that we should have limits to where we can carry.
So you should be able to stockpile weapons?
Absolutely. Why not? I can only hold
That's
one gun.
That's
I,
fucking wild.
how many guns can I use at once?
One.
Right.
Max two.
Maybe 2 if I'm going
Two
to
if
Kimbo,
you're-
right?
yeah.
Okay. So what does it matter how many guns I have?
I mean, I guess it doesn't.
Okay.
Also, when they're like, "Oh,
So-
you had over 1,000 rounds of ammo," like
I go
1,000
through
rounds of
1,000
ammo ain't
rounds
shit.
in one day.
Yeah.
Easily one day, 1,000 rounds.
But what they're saying is I think, and again, devil's advocate, this is why I have you fucks on, is I believe when somebody says something to 100 or 1,000 rounds is potentially 1,000 headshots, 1,000 lives lost type deal, right? I mean, that's what that's why they say what they say.
They had the ability to fire that many rounds.
Yeah.
Okay. Granted,
if the accuracy
how many
was
magazines can fit in a gun at one time? Only one.
for sure.
And how many, like, so we could like play semantics all day. How many magazines does this guy have?
I'm
Are
with
they
you.
loaded, right?
I'm
Well,
better trying
and
to
I
understand
get it,
where you're coming
But
from.
then now that kind of goes back to what we're saying about like the narrative kind of creating and inciting fear around 1,000 rounds, even though dude might have just been on his way to a shooting range,
Okay.
right?
I'm
and
with
this
you.
is actually has been, there was a case in Stockton. They posted it on Instagram. They arrested a guy. He must have just been on his way to a range. It looked like he had a homemade built rifle. Like he ordered the parts, built it out, had some high cap magazines, and they arrested the guy.
Okay.
And so like that guy's a criminal, and people from all over the country were just like totally trolling the Stockton Police Department, like for essentially violating his rights. And they portrayed this guy as if he was about to go rob a bank or something or commit a shooting. But he literally just had a rifle that California says there are specific parts that are on this rifle that turn it into an assault weapon.
Like what? Is that like the bump stock?
Magazine
and,
release, yeah, there's a list of parts. So it could be the telescopic butt stock, could be
And those are just
pistol
like
grip.
fun things. Is that why you would get them? Just accessories that
just basic
make your gun
accessories.
fucking
Yep.
sweet.
Anything that might help you shoot a
It's
little
like in
better.
every video game growing up when you're
But
just
the
like, "Oh, I could
biggest-
buy a new part for
The
this."
biggest
Yeah.
one, which has come to be known as the California bullet button, is the magazine release. So they remove the ability to
The John Wick
release-
thing where you pop in, it falls on the floor.
Well, yeah, with any firearm to release the magazine and reload it, right? So now you've got a fixed magazine. That's it. Whatever's in there, you can't change out the magazine. That's how you make that. That is the new requirement to be able to own AR style rifle in California.
Wait, so whoa, hold on. So in order to access the magazine, you have to take the gun apart.
basically.
Yes, exactly.
Like crack the
glad
gun
I
in
explained
half?
that
Yeah,
well.
pretty
Yeah,
much.
you got to pop the upper off and then stuff bullets in from the top.
Oh, so there's no way that you could do it. How many? Okay, and this is a California thing, you say?
Yes. And
How many more
this-
shootings is California having compared to other states? Do you
Way
guys
down
know?
from when you look at the gangs and everything that was happening in the 80s and 90s.
So what would be the motivation in order
There's
to
no,
do these?
Do you remember the San Bernardino shooting?
Yes.
They use AR-15 style rifles.
Okay, so let's not use that. Just in order for instance.
It's not in my opinion, it is not having any significant effect. We can look at the number of gun laws in California. I think California doesn't have the strictest, but they have the most. Like the most.
Who's got the
amount.
strictest?
I think like
Chicago.
New York. New
York, yeah.
Chicago's a city, but they're definitely like up there.
Do they still do the 10 years per bullet in the chamber or bullet in the clip or some
Oh,
shit? Wasn't there like a
So that's like a
it was like an anti-gang
Yeah,
thing,
no, I
right?
don't know exactly what that is, but they are able to assess additional penalties depending on certain things. I don't know if that's still a thing, but yeah, that's like that's just sort of a general circumstance. Depending on a crime, they can assess additional penalties. You know, if there's a
And
child
having
involved.
one in the chamber versus not when you get caught with a weapon, that's a whole other list of fines.
So the thing about a lot of these California laws is a lot of California police officers are not even familiar with, you know, current rulings, which there's actually one coming up end of this month. In exactly 1 week from today, there's going to be another ruling that was sort of similar to Freedom Week with the magazines, except this one is now on the AR style ban, right? So the same judge is going to hear the case and determine whether or not the regulations that have been placed on Californians and what they can and can't have on their rifles and how the rifle can operate, he's going to decide whether or not that's constitutional. Before, he decided that magazine ban, the magazine capacity, he decided that that was unconstitutional. So we're hoping, gun owners are hoping that he's going to also decide in our favor.
What do gun owners want?
But what happened with that, with the magazine thing? Because they allowed it for a week and then it got...
After about 10 days,
reinstated?
the Attorney General requested what is called a stay. He couldn't get a stay, so then he requested a specific stay, which would require the gun stores that were selling standard capacity magazines to stop. But any magazines that were bought within those 10 days or whatever it was, I think it was like a week.
Yeah.
Any magazines that were bought within that time frame were considered legally owned and legally possessible.
How do I prove that? Like, just
You
my
don't have
receipt?
to. You don't have to prove it
Oh,
because
beautiful.
if you're gonna get in trouble, they have to prove that you are owning them illegally.
I was at Martin B. Redding, dude. It was crazy for
I
that
went there
week,
too.
dude.
That was
Oh
my spot. I went
God.
there twice, bro.
Yeah, so did I. No, they didn't call. They posted something on Instagram
Yeah.
that they didn't have while I was there, so I went back.
Yeah. So we're essentially hoping for a similar ruling that will say, you know, the regulations, and it's gonna if it goes our way, people are gonna freak out like, oh my gosh, everyone can own an assault weapon again. But it's like,
Is the goal to stop shootings? Is that the goal?
No, I think the goal is to turn law-abiding citizens into criminals.
I think the
So
goal.
what, so they can get locked up?
I think the goal is to remove.
Because that's a business, isn't it? Like a private prison?
I'll give you my opinion. I think the goal is to remove the ability to assemble the same way they did in Virginia, for people to be able to get kitted up and ready for action in case they got to kill tyrants. They don't want people to have that ability. If they one day say like, hey, we're gonna take your guns, and they're like, no, you're not. They don't want them to be able to have sufficient ability to say, no, you're not. And as long as we have what some call military grade weaponry, we always have the upper hand. And it is my personal belief that the government should always fear the people. And I think that's a big part of what happened in Virginia, is they were showing them like, hey, you work for us in a sense, right? We are the people and this is what we want. And, you know, we're willing to show you that we will go back to 1776, you know?
Look at their flag. Their
Yeah.
flag is literally a citizen standing on top of a dead tyrant, and it says death to tyrants or
Sic
something.
semper
Right?
tyrannis, yeah. So,
What?
there was
Bro,
that's the Virginian
they brought a
flag?
Yeah.
guillotine out there, bro.
Really?
During the rally, there was a guillotine. They're like, where's the tyrants at?
But then look at this though. So everyone's like, oh, it's not a big deal. We want to protect people and end school shootings and all this stuff. But then you look at like
Which I'm for.
the pretty extreme views that are going to be pushed by Bernie, by Warren, all these things. You look at, you want to talk about the amount
I
of
thought
Russians
Bernie
and
was
stuff.
for guns.
Bernie's he's kind of right in the middle. He's pretty neutral.
Yeah,
He
because
tries
he-
not to talk about it.
Yeah,
it
because
seems like.
Vermont people fucking love guns.
See, but this
Bernie's
is the thing.
leading
It's a
right now,
it's
too.
it's a smart move because once he's in power, he can do whatever the fuck he
Same
wants.
shit with Trump. Trump
And if
said
you-
that shit.
if you
like,
look
all
at-
his support.
Any kind of socialist leaning view, you got to look at the extremes that have already happened in the past. Russia, Stalin killed more of his own citizens than anybody else. Mao killed more of his own citizens than anybody else. You look at these things,
People
and
don't understand that.
Yeah, and
This is
I
a
wouldn't
big hole in
even.
history people don't like to talk about for some reason.
I
Well, that's
wouldn't
the thing,
even
too.
be
Really weird.
so much worried about like, hey, like Bernie is going to become like socialist dictator, but more so like people are calling those sort of like new worldviews like progressive politics, and it's like there's nothing about it really that's progressive, like it's just
Yeah, some would call it regressive, like going into a
well,
communist
if you want to get into getting rid of private property, personal, like all that stuff goes down to, okay, so you want to make it so you can't own your own house, you can't do all this stuff. If I want those ideals to get passed and to actually be through, what do I have to do? I have to take away the people's ability to defend themselves and their property.
right.
Right? I think that that's where that would be headed.
Right.
I could be wrong.
Do you think
Who
that
knows?
we're potentially at risk for like V for Vendetta type shit, like the gun community, or is it
I
just?
never even really saw that movie.
I guess
For me, I think right now where it's at, like, so we saw in Virginia, we saw a peaceful assembly, and
sure.
now, what could potentially happen is that the governor assigns the approved bills, which will essentially ban a lot of things that are already owned, and so, in addition to what it seems like is that like they're trying to set it up so that they can confiscate guns through red flag laws.
Mhm.
Okay, and how they're gonna do that, I don't know, but that's what it seems like. And if it comes to that, the same people that we saw at the march, instead of them marching peacefully, they're gonna load those firearms and they're gonna prepare to fight against whoever's coming to take the guns, just like the British came to take the guns. It's like literally going to be a repeat of history. And that's essentially what these protesters are saying. It's like, look back at history. Look what happened when the King of England tried to come and take our guns.
for sure.
Because this is what will happen again.
Yeah.
So-
What is what's important? Speaking more generally, is it just more important that we don't take back any? We don't retract any of the laws that this country was founded on? Is that one of the main motivations? Like it could be anything. Like, do you feel the same way about fucking free speech?
Oh, 100%,
Oh,
dude.
for sure. So here's what a lot of people don't understand is that the rights to free speech, the First Amendment, are just as deeply ingrained in American history and our society, and are just as important as the Second Amendment. Whether people agree with that or not, the First Amendment and the Second Amendment are both inalienable rights. They cannot be taken away from you according to the Constitution.
For sure.
Which is why I hold some of my beliefs about why some criminals should get their rights back and
For
things
sure.
like that. But for me, when people don't understand that and they don't respect the lineage of the Second Amendment, it's outdated and they had muskets back then and all these different things.
Yeah.
They don't understand the point of the Second Amendment, and it's literally to fight off tyrants. Not like, I want to have my gun and I need it for hunting. It has nothing to do with hunting. It has to do with the fact that if some power, whether it be a tyrant, foreign power, or somebody.
What about a criminal?
Yeah, exactly that too, right? So
Because they're not getting rid of their guns.
yeah,
No, 100%.
Yeah,
no.
and-
You know,
and
that's more my thing. Is like so my stance on this entire thing is like I think that I'm gonna have guns as long as that guy has a gun.
Right.
You know, because I don't want to be caught with my fucking pants down.
It's another big argument for the magazine capacity limit, the assault rifle limitations, and concealed carry. Criminals they violate all three of those things. They will carry extended magazines. They will carry illegal assault rifles, or what is considered an assault rifle in California, and they will use them in crimes, rarely. But the big thing is concealed handguns. Criminals carry concealed handguns every day.
Mm-hmm.
But California does not allow people to do that. They don't want people to do that. But the criminals will still
gangbangers
do
do it every day,
Yeah.
but I can't do it because I want to be a law-abiding citizen.
The gangbangers are gonna have guns by law if they pass what you. If everything goes in the way you want it to, the people.
So if you're saying if there's no gun regulations,
yeah, isn't
then
the dangerous people have guns?
Don't they
now?
already have them?
Yeah, I guess.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I guess.
Is that
They
they
have
have
them
them and they're going to
already.
use them and they're going to carry them.
Yeah, I guess
And
that's a good
Versus
point.
me, I'm not going to risk carrying my gun in California because which I really am not a fan of, because it's not about me having my gun on me all the time, whatever. It's that one instance when I'm in a situation where you got it and I don't.
Yeah, it's like you don't know you need it until
fucked,
you need it,
bro.
right?
In California, like, so for instance, we go to church. He goes to church on Sunday. California says you're not allowed to carry a firearm when you go into a place that could potentially be a target for a mass shooting. And then lo and behold, that church gets attacked. It's like almost like what he's saying. It's like, it's not worth, even though he could illegally carry a concealed firearm and go into church and keeps himself safe and his family safe, it's not worth it for him to also potentially lose his right to own firearms if he happens to get pulled over, searched, and then discovered that he's carrying a concealed firearm, and now he's charged with a felony.
Are the numbers there for people who have deflected those
Defended
situations?
themselves in
Yeah.
Oh,
I think a perfect example was recently in Texas.
In
I was gonna
Texas,
say,
that
can
old
you make
dude.
that shot?
Oh yeah, so
75 feet headshot.
so
Is that
that's
what that-
one
is
of
that
the,
what that
that's one
was?
of the things that
That's like fucking Red Dead
That was a
Redemption.
fuck-
there's
fucking-
that's one of the things that is like really commonly neglected for people who train in firearms is 25-yard bullseye shots. I think it was like 50 feet, but typically we're training 25-yard 6-inch bullseye or maybe an 8-inch bullseye, but that was a moving target and that was over innocent people's heads. So there's
So what was the story? Tell me like what happened.
I don't know like details about what happened before, but this guy tried to go there, I guess like a homeless guy or
He
something.
was already picked out as a potential threat.
They denied him entry, so he left, and then he came back, and
With a
they
gun.
he came back. I think it was a shotgun
with a
and
wig and shit. Like, it was
all
weird.
dressed up, cloaked up, and everything. So then I think they saw him on the cameras like coming back. First guy, he like enters into the sanctuary. First guy kind of is like has this reaction. It seems like that he doesn't really like believe what he's seeing.
You
And
saw
he-
a video?
Oh,
of
I
this?
saw the unedited
Dude,
video.
the whole thing
yeah.
was live streamed.
Yeah, I saw the whole thing.
They live streamed the service,
So-
therefore the shooting was also live streamed.
He was like kind of has this reaction where he's like doesn't really know. He like looks at the guy behind him, and then by the time he like looks back, he's getting shot.
With a
It's-
shotgun?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
point blank.
Oh, he's dead.
just down, like boom. The guy next to him, you can tell he's going for his gun, which he carries small to the back, and he's like real slow. And he almost
He got a
looks-
shot off.
It almost looks like he's kind of like telling him to drop, like announcing himself or telling him to drop the gun, maybe giving him commands or something. But as he's like bringing it up, then he gets shot. So first two guys go down, and then the shooter turns towards the front of the church where the pastor is standing and starts moving towards the pastor. There's a third guy, the guy who kills him. He's standing in the very back of the pews. He starts moving towards him, and as soon as the shooter starts moving horizontally to him, he just boom, one shot, perfect headshot at about, I think it was 50 feet. Perfect headshot, fired one round. Then all the other people in the
Like
pews
6,
that
7 other
have
people.
concealed carry permits, or well, in Texas you don't need a permit, I don't think, but like 6 people draw down on this guy, and they all close in on him, and they like basically see that he's dead, and
Kick the
crazy.
shotgun away, get the shotgun away from him.
yeah, so pretty much one of those
Damn.
things
Remember,
where they were
you're
all,
under stress. 2 people just got shot. You see this guy going. There's
Yeah,
heads
it
bobbing
was like
in
God
the middle,
came down and like.
just-
like
But this guy
perfectly-
also has a shit ton of training and is like an instructor,
Yeah, he's a
retired.
firearms instructor.
He's a fucking Texan, boys.
Yeah.
a firearms
yeah.
instructor.
But
Texas.
They also
Texas,
had training. They had
fucking crazy.
practice. So that was a church that had put a lot of effort into practicing what would they do in that situation.
The church?
Yes, they had previous training. I don't know as far as like what and how much, but you could also
There was
tell from
protocol?
the video. Yeah, you could tell from the video. So when you're watching it, nobody gets up. Everyone gets down. Nobody gets up and starts running around. But the reaction from the people, you could tell that they knew to stay down and immediately exit when it was safe, rather than to, like I said, get up and run around and potentially get themselves shot. So, and then they said, I think there was some information that came out afterwards saying that they had gone through some sort of active shooter training. whatever
Fuck.
it be.
then the other one too that happened in Texas, the guy
Yes,
comes
is
in
that
with an
San
AR-15,
Antonio?
shoots multiple people,
Yeah, is this the dude in the parking lot?
and then the
At
guy that was
Walmart?
outside that
The
heard
guy that
it,
lives
saw
across
it,
the street. Yeah.
came out chasing with his AR-15.
Yeah.
I think
He had
think
an
shot him.
AR-15 too?
So
Yeah.
So yeah, like he said, there was a guy went into a church with an AR-15, and then the guy, the good guy lives across the street from the church.
Uh-huh. Make sure you're
and-
talking to that mic, dude.
And his daughter goes, "Dad, they're shooting at the church across the street." So he's like, gets his AR-15, goes out there, sees the guy, starts taking shots at him, and then the guy tries to run away, gets in a car and tries to run away. So good guy gets in his truck, starts chasing him down, and is shooting at him while they're driving. And he basically shoots him off the road, and then the cops come and like take care of the dude.
And what happened to the guy shooting his AR-15?
he's a hero.
Oh, he's a hero.
Oh, that's what
He's
you guys like to see,
hailed by like
the problem
everybody,
is
yeah.
they don't show it enough when guns are used to protect lives.
And that's another good argument. Like people say, "Oh, who needs an AR-15? Why does anyone need an AR-15? Why does anyone need military grade weaponry?" Specifically to protect ourselves from people who have that same weaponry. It's extremely like, I don't know the word. Not like arrogant or like ignorant, but it's like, it's almost like disingenuous, right? Like, for someone to say like, "Oh, your handgun is going to be enough in a home invasion robbery," or 10 rounds is enough.
It's not enough?
Hell no. When
How
they're
many
coming
shots?
in,
And then I don't know this. How many shots does it take on average from the average human being? If I was to throw fucking average Joe a
So many
handgun
factors.
and be like, take down
Okay,
this
handgun.
fucking guy.
Handgun.
Under stress, home invasion, the whole deal. How's this guy doing? How many bullets is it going to take? What do you think?
There have been cases of people being shot over 6, 7, 8, 9 times, and they are still fighting back. It's not about how many times you get shot. You can shoot me in the lung, liver, spleen, kidney 6 times, twice in each lung.
People don't get that.
And you haven't hit those critical parts that are, you might get a psychological stop because I'm in pain. So I might like go down and be like, "Ow."
Yeah.
But I can still shoot you. I can still fight back. And there have been cases where people are getting charged at by someone with a knife and they get shot a couple times, but because of their forward momentum,
plus adrenaline.
they can still stab the person who shot them.
Yeah.
And it only takes one stab in your jugular or in
whatever.
the heart or in the armpit that
Mhm.
can kill you.
Mhm.
So it's not necessarily a matter of how many shots. It's always going to be many. Handguns are particularly bad at stopping the threat.
I was going to say, I was just more asking the effectiveness of the allowed handgun. Or if they were saying, hey, this is enough.
So to
How
sort of
effective
address
is that?
that question, right? So in California, you're only allowed to have 10 rounds, right? So we just determined that it could take potentially up to 10 rounds for one person. Well, most home invasions, like that's the example that we're talking about here, most home invasions, it's not just one person breaking into a home. It's usually a couple guys, and they're also usually armed, whether it's a gun, probably an illegal gun that has more than 10 rounds.
Yeah, I was going to say, how many rounds does illegal
Mhm.
dudes carry?
Exactly. And then they've got multiple.
Yeah.
So is 10 rounds enough? There you go.
Yeah,
There's your answers.
I
But
mean, not in that situation for sure.
California has determined that that's enough for you.
Okay. So I hear what you're saying. I'm sold. I think that I don't think that there should be these restrictions that just seem to be getting in the way of the problem. However, I do disagree with the idea that there should not be some mental check before these guns are allowed, because
we did talk about this before.
Because they have shown that a lot of to name some examples, I believe the Columbine kids were on medication.
Most of the mass shootings
they obtained their
happen.
firearms from their parents, though.
And they what?
They obtained their firearms from their parents. They were teenagers. They couldn't legally buy firearms. They had access through their parents.
But they would have gotten the firearms legally under your laws, though, right?
So you potentially
they would have been able to just walk in, whatever Klebold, whatever his name is, in the fucking trench coat with Marilyn Manson bumping in his headphones and just be like, "Hey man, I want that fucking Uzi. Give me
wouldn't
that."
they also be able to do that under the current law? Like, say they turned 18, but what would have stopped them from buying firearms?
Okay, but that's just an example. Well, it's
the same argument as before, right? Because the bad guys are gonna get guns anyways. They already have guns
for sure.
So what?
Wait, they got these guns from their parents
because they're teens, right?
Wasn't one like a Mac 10 and like a
it was I think one was like a Mac
like
10,
a SMG,
a Tech 9. It was a Tech 9.
Yeah, it was a Tech 9 and like a
Tech 9
crazy
semi-auto
shit.
little thing. So
okay, but what about the people who are on prescription medication who have?
Okay, so perfect. This is perfect. So again, kind of going back to the rehab thing. This person is on medication to make them better, right?
For sure.
So what if this person just has them,
allegedly
anxiety,
make them better?
Yeah. What if the person, I just got like little anxiety disorder,
For sure.
Basic. Everyone deals with anxiety, but
I agree.
I get a little bit extra now and then, so I like something to stabilize the mood. Go to my psychiatrist, hits me with Effexor or whatever they're doing for anxiety nowadays, right? Effexor is actually pretty gnarly, but sometimes they might prescribe that for you. Does that mean I don't get to own firearms anymore?
Oh,
so
I don't know.
Is this a lot of the side effects are suicide, and
they are. But who's to say that that's going to be what happens to me?
No,
right?
yeah, for sure.
And so should we say, oh, you can't own firearms because this might happen to you, or who? And regardless, who is going to be the person who make that determination when they say we're going to do mental health checks, we're going to search your mental health background history? How far back are they going to go? What if that was my case 3 years ago, and now I want to own a firearm, but I've been taking meds for however many years, I'm rehabilitated. You see how we get into this area where it's like the Constitution says that nobody should be able to decide that for me.
Right.
I'm the one who decides how I defend myself and how I defend my family.
So give the crazy guy a gun, arm everybody so that they can stop.
Eventually they'll all be killed off.
Well, what if?
See, my thing is like we're worried about criminals getting guns. All those people will either find the guns or already have the guns. My issue is
they're not
the
going
laws
in.
that they're trying to put on
though.
people are going to make law-abiding citizens, people that have guns already, people that have ammo already, that are not going out shooting people.
Right.
It turns me into a criminal because we got to keep the guns away from the bad guys. They're going to get them anyways.
So bad guys have guns anyway.
But you're impeding my right now to
Right.
protect myself because I choose to follow the law so I can
Okay.
keep my right to own guns.
Okay.
And making us less able to defend ourselves from the people that don't follow laws to begin with.
That's my big issue.
Is there a statistic on the amount of people who are legally allowed to carry guns and them going through with a homicide or a murder?
There will never be an accurate statistic in terms of you're speaking in terms of firearms used to defend themselves, right?
I'm speaking in terms of you walking in legally allowed to buy a gun.
So like how many of the mass shootings or whatever were legally owned firearms?
For
those
sure.
people?
Yeah.
Very small amount.
Really?
It has to be.
No, I
because-
think in most cases they are legally owned or legally bought.
Okay.
but not by that person.
In most cases they are.
Okay.
There are a couple, like for instance the San Bernardino shooting, that was a straw purchase. There are some cases where they have been illegally obtained, or if you're talking specifically about mass shooters.
I'm talking about situations that rouse the idea that maybe no more guns. That's like in any situations that make anybody feel like that, whether the administration or anything. How many of those how many of the subjects in that situation, how many of those guns were bought legally was my question.
I can think off the top of my head, like the past couple major mass shootings, they're in most cases bought legally, so they had no prior history, no prior criminal background, no prior 5150 holds, so that would prevent them from
for sure. So, but then
there is actually the shooter that we were talking about, Texas, the church guy, where the other guy came out of his house. That guy had been discharged from the army for domestic violence, and he should have been banned from owning firearms and should not have been able to purchase. But that information from the military was not forwarded to the DOJ. So when he went to purchase the firearm, he wasn't flagged in the system.
Well, that's the thing too. A lot of the states, their systems don't communicate with each other,
It's not
and so things that could have been prevented. So you're saying the people that are imposing more rules on me can't even execute what
But
they
could have
already
been
have in
prevented.
place?
exactly.
could have been prevented is not something that you think should even happen, though, right?
What do you mean?
Like these flags shouldn't even exist, right? Like you say,
so if he's proven himself to be violent, or he has been determined to be
so there are restrictions under your idea.
I personally believe so here's the thing. It's not necessarily a restriction. It's if I own a gun store and you come to my gun store and you want to buy a gun, I'm going to say no.
For sure.
Right.
So if you own a gun store and you come to my store to buy a gun, you can say no.
Yes. I will say
You can reserve the right to refuse service.
Yes,
to
I'm
someone.
not going to sell you a firearm. Yeah.
But that person can go across the street and fucking...
maybe. And then that onus is on that firearm seller.
So is the red flag that flagged this person down to...
So the problem is like, dude, so we work together, right?
Yeah.
I do something that pisses you off.
Uh-huh.
They have now
He's
allowed...
he's not talking about red. Are you talking about red flag laws?
Well, I was talking about the red flag.
He's talking about the flag.
I was talking about the
military
flag.
guy.
Yeah,
okay,
the
okay,
military guy where he shouldn't have been allowed to purchase the gun.
Yeah.
But Shelby said that he doesn't believe that any of these laws, who's to say?
I believe that firearms. I believe that the Second Amendment should be interpreted in the way that it is written.
Okay.
And I personally believe that there should be no infringements on the right to own firearms.
Right, and that's the thing, right? Is you have to stay consistent with that, right? You can't start piecing out apart, because once you start piecing out apart, then you have to. Then every other amendment is up for.
Well, that's the thing. The first and
Dissection,
second, they are there for a reason. Look at Canada. Look at England. Right? You can go to jail for hate speech, quote unquote,
Saying the wrong
hate
words.
speech.
Yeah, that's
you can
bullshit.
make a meme and go to jail. Right?
That's bullshit.
London has a higher homicide rate than New York City does right now, and they have no guns. There's more people getting stabbed with butter knives, steak knives, whatever it
I
is.
remember Scotland told us.
Than there is people getting shot in New York.
And
And
people
that's
are
where it's
still getting
headed
shot there, too.
when they continue to pass these laws. Because, why do you need a gun? Okay, now why do you need a knife? You can't even, as a normal citizen, you can't have steak knives. Like, you have to do some special thing. Like, you're not allowed to have a butter
Get a
knife.
permit.
So people are going to kill each other regardless. Is
There
that what
are
you guys
still
were saying?
shootings in England too. Even though guns are banned, there are still shootings. There are still black market guns there, and people can make guns. You can build a gun. You need a pipe and like a nail, and
That's the running joke with these gun buyback things. Is like people go build these shitty
$15
guns, turn
at
them
Home
in,
Depot,
get money, and go out and buy real guns.
Yeah, it's hilarious.
What?
So yeah, there's
Wait, can you not carry around a knife in the UK right now?
No,
Really?
there's
dude, it's a
rampant
felony.
knife violence in UK.
I remember when our good friend Kevin Butler told us that when I was in high school, I was like, I would always ask him about Scotland. Dude, what's it like? What's this like? What's this like? And he had told me Glasgow is, at one point, Baghdad is safer to be in than Glasgow.
Dude, it's still, dude, you can walk around and look at a little group of kids wrong, and you're gonna get beat up with wrenches and
Yeah.
machetes and all kinds of
Yeah.
dude. It's still nuts out there.
So why are people fighting so much?
out there.
Yeah.
I
Do you
don't
know? Is it any related?
Well, like he was saying, is like they don't have the personal freedoms. They don't. Their country, their government doesn't say, "Hey, when you're born, you also get this constitution that says you get all these inalienable rights. You are born with these natural rights." Their country doesn't say that. For instance, Canada, England, if you say something bad about the Queen, yeah, you're gonna get a ticket or you're gonna go to jail or something, right? So here in America, you could say fuck Trump, you could say like whatever you want,
yeah.
and that right to say whatever you want is equal to the right to own and bear firearms.
Yep. And what about people visiting from another country or people living here that aren't citizens? Do they get to have the same gun laws?
Well, see, but again, these are God-given inalienable rights. So that means, in my opinion, it doesn't matter what country you were born in. Now, does that country participate in that? No. But when you come to this country, this is what we believe.
So if I'm from fucking
The way it stands now, I think you have to be a
Caracas.
U.S. citizen,
yeah,
or you have to have a green card.
is that a good idea so that you can be documented, or no? You just anybody can grab a gun.
I mean, here's the
You
well,
gotta at least
And when I
live.
say
You gotta
grab
at
a
least,
gun, I don't mean to downplay
Yeah.
it. Like you can go grab a gun.
I
and
think
go
you have
shoot
to
it
at
up.
least live by the laws that we at least have in place right now. So, like, if we have restrictions on us that we don't agree with, you're still gonna have those same restrictions coming over as a foreigner.
For sure.
And anyone that is visiting from out of state, well, now you can't necessarily like go and rent a firearm. There's been some changes in laws, but that's not to stop someone from like going and taking a class or I just taught 2 guys from Taiwan last weekend, professional shooters, competition shooters. But it's like it's not a big deal.
Dude, we trained the guys how to fly planes that flew into the fucking Trade Center. Bro.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
some, you
there's-
guys don't really believe in the Illuminati, but I'm fucking on that shit. But my question is I'm just trying to really
How long do they have to live here until they can buy
Yes,
guns?
because don't you think it's a good idea for every gun to be registered? And if it's
No.
oh really?
Because
Well, what if
all a registration does is say, hey, when shit hits the fan, these people have weapons and we need to go get those. That's why I stopped buying ammo, because the last law that they passed, that now you have to run a background check every time I purchase ammo. Like, that's why, dude, people made a shit ton of money.
Cars have registrations.
So
They don't
Well,
really
can you register your gun?
a car's not a constitutionally guaranteed right.
The thing about gun registration is that if, for instance, like he's saying, buying ammo, if I go buy 1,000 rounds, oh my god, right? Maybe I just need to go to the range, but whatever. I buy 1,000 rounds, and then I have such and such AR-15. It's registered to me, registered in my name. And then all of a sudden, California decides to pass some of the same laws that Virginia is passing, and now AR-15s are banned. All they got to do is look at our gun registry and say, "Oh, okay, we're gonna go to his house. We're gonna go to his house, and we're gonna take all these AR-15s."
No knock warrants at 3 a.m. when you're fucking sleeping.
Or wait till I leave my house so I don't have my AR-15 with me, and then take me down outside.
Okay, what if? Okay, just what if?
Mm-hmm.
A ton of people in the park get smoked. No shoot. No.
Well, like an active shooter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get smoked. Nobody. No suspect. Just a lot of bullet casings
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
and maybe a gun.
Uh-huh.
That's just the way it is. Because can't you track down a car in a pursuit chase?
Yeah, but I can also build. I can build a gun. I can build. They call them ghost guns. I can order the parts to build a gun, and that's not registered. And
Like-
that has been, again, a big part of American history. The ability to do that. I can do that here in California right now. It's legal to do that. But I can't not to build an assault not to build an assault weapon, but I can build a gun, and there's a lot of
That's where you get
interesting
into do like a
cases.
3D printing of guns.
Yeah,
So I know how to 3D print too.
That
so
has always been
does
a
not fuck with me.
right to build firearms. That's a right in America. And I can build what Democrats refer to and anti-gun people refer to as a ghost gun, but that right has always been around for all Americans. Everyone has always had that right, and now they're labeling it as ghost gun, and it's scary because it's not registered.
And they use the word ghost.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's just a spooky word.
To try to make it seem like that you shouldn't be able to have that right.
Yeah.
That's also like why people that truly believe that like any AR style gun, well, that's an assault rifle.
Mm-hmm.
That's not. That's the other thing that, not a professional by any means, but I try to at least gather the knowledge behind it because I want to know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
When people get out there and they say, "Oh, it doesn't matter, it's semantics," your word. No, it does matter. It does matter what you're saying and what, because you're trying to push your views on people with incorrect terminology or how weapons work, or they think that, oh, I have an AR-15, I get to just hold down the trigger and it's just gonna fire
Right.
600 bullets a second. Like, when you're pushing that ludicrous stuff on people and people eat it up all day long,
Mm-hmm.
and then they get to go and vote and take away my rights because of something that you said that is completely false. That's another big issue. that I have.
And I agree with you. Like, I'm big on the people not understanding firearms and using incorrect terminology or describing them in like huge, like hyperbolic ways that don't exist. But also at the same time, particularly with the term assault rifle, like I kind of agree with that use of word when it's used correctly. Like, yes, I do. I have an assault rifle, and like I'll tell you, like, this is an assault rifle, and yeah,
Six
makes it
6
an-
million
what makes it
bullets
an
a
assault rifle?
second.
It's a Colt. It's a Colt LE 6920.
Okay.
It's a Colt.
I don't know what that means.
It's an assault rifle, and the reason why I say it is an assault rifle is because people should understand that it's my right to own this assault rifle, and in some sense, I want to normalize it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like that dude walking around with a Barrett, though. We couldn't dream of having one in California, right?
I think you can own a Barrett if it's featureless.
Yo, what about a bazooka?
Yeah,
You should have the
Sure.
right to have it all.
I think so too. Yeah.
When people talk about
bazooka?
like, oh, the Second Amendment was written and we only had muskets and all this
I love
stuff.
this one.
No, it's not the truth. Citizens actually had semi-automatic rifles before they were even issued to the army. Yeah. The army was still stuffing fucking barrels or bullets down the gun to get off one shot when citizens already had higher tech weapons than our own military had. For specific reasons, because when the fucking English came over and tried to fucking big dick us, we were able to defend ourselves and get them the fuck out of our country.
So
What? Hold on.
here's
Hold on.
what-
I got it.
You-
What about homemade bombs?
Yes. So
What?
let me tell you. Okay.
Dude, this is
so
fucking.
here.
I gotta
let me
piss. We don't have to pause.
No,
No,
go
you
for it.
go-
Go
you
for
go
it.
ahead, dude.
So here, the Heller test. Okay, so this is talking about case law again.
Mm-hmm.
The Heller test was something that came up. I forget the year, to determine which methods of defense are covered under the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Heller test states that things that are considered to be used in common use, things that are in common use for self-defense are covered and are allowed to be owned, and things like that, which is one of those reasons why I'm trying to normalize the term assault rifle,
Right.
which is the reason why many guys are trying to normalize the use of suppressors on their rifles as well.
Mm-hmm.
Things that are not in common use for self-defense are not covered in the Second Amendment. Bazookas, hand grenades, home bombs. That's not covered under Second
Fucking
Amendment.
nukes.
Yeah, not covered.
Biological warfare shit.
Do I believe that we should be able to own it? I kind of do.
Yeah, because you have to stay consistent, right? Because
Not
you can...
not even because I have to be consistent, because I know I'm not going to use it to blow someone up. I can own something and not be a danger by simply having it in my possession. Which is why when you're like, oh, you shouldn't be able to stockpile guns, but it's like, why not? Why not? Let me ask you, why not?
Well, I guess it seems excessive. I guess, but
Excessive.
Excessive to who though?
That's
I'm
a relative term. Like
excessive to the person, excessive to somebody. Well, I guess I can't help but imagine like a Las Vegas shooting situation,
so,
like where the person has multiple guns, doesn't have to change a clip, just grabs another gun,
there's a
and
lot
can
of
bar
people.
himself up in a hotel room
Yeah,
with all the guns in the world for any kind of shot and do some serious damage over a heavily populated boulevard.
there's a lot of people, probably tens of thousands of people that own more firearms than that guy had, and they're not shooting.
That's
on the weekends.
my biggest.
So
Keep saying
hold
that,
on. So what about the okay?
So look at if
So what about
gun
this
owners.
guy?
This is very
No, look
productive
at
conversation.
if gun
today.
owners were the problem, it would be a way bigger problem in this country.
Okay,
We are not the problem.
We have
Trust
the
me.
number of guns in America is, I think there's more guns than people,
Yeah.
right? And we
Yeah, I've
own
heard
more guns than any other country. But if more,
Which
if,
makes
if,
sense,
if
right?
the amount, yeah. So if it was the amount of guns owned that were the issue, then we would have way higher murder rates.
Or even the amount of gun owners.
Right, exactly. So then we would have way higher murder rates with firearms than, so it's again one of those kind of false narratives that are being played
Again,
out.
is the population, dude. Look at, we have more people in Los Angeles than most countries have, period. And when you look at the gun deaths and everything, we're literally in 0.00 percentages, where other countries where they don't have access to firearms and stuff that we do are killing people way more often than we are.
all right. If you armed, I have two questions. I'm gonna ask the first one before we get too far away from it. So the no stockpile thing, are you allowed to flag that guy fucking pushing a shopping cart to his fucking hotel room with seven guns?
okay,
Are you about to be like, hey, what are you doing?
Hey, what's going on over there?
Yeah, what the fuck are you doing? Are you allowed to or no?
Yeah, well, as a private business, you can determine whether people can or cannot possess firearms. on
What
your
about
property.
a dude out on a fucking on a lookout, on a nature lookout, and over a beach or something, and he's just sitting there with guns? What are you doing? Nothing. It's like, okay.
Yeah, I'm willing to bet he's probably
Doing
going to
nothing?
be chastised by a lot of people, and maybe the cops would come.
My
and
my
be
big
like,
thing
hey,
was
what
a
are you
hotel
doing?
room with a shopping cart. So
Yeah, but-
as a private business,
But look at that guy also had access to go up private elevators, had people helping him in and out of the
that's cool.
building.
They
Like
gave him like special privileges because he was a regular. He was able to use the freight elevators, and the bellhop would pick up his bags, and then he would go with the bellhop with his bags up the elevator to his room.
how heavy are those bags?
Probably pretty heavy, but I mean,
Not allowed to,
he
like,
did
go
he
through
did
it.
several trips. There's a really good documentary on it on YouTube that shows the timeline where he checked in a hotel. He checked into a different hotel as well because he was potentially had a second target that he was going to go for.
he also did it the week before. Life is Beautiful. You
That's
had a
what I'm
room.
talking
Yeah.
about. So he was scoping out Life
But
is
didn't
Beautiful.
but didn't shoot.
But
He
didn't
chose
do it.
not to,
Yeah.
but he still had that hotel room. Like he could have gone back there anytime.
Shit is so scary. Yo, what? Real quick, why isn't that getting talked about anymore? Is it a close
Because
case?
there's more to it.
There's a lot. Basically,
I've
what
heard
ended
some,
up
I've
happening.
heard some shit, man. That the
FBI was like, we don't know
that
why
the
he
Saudi
did it.
prince was up there at the Four Seasons.
Well, bro, when you look
and
at who owns those block of rooms and everything on the top
isn't
of
the
it,
Saudi, doesn't Saudis
the
own
top
those?
of Mandalay.
It's commonly
There's
used.
there's a
by-
whole bunch.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of weird stuff about it. There's weird stuff about that guy's background and what he used to do for the government.
Was there any government officials in Las Vegas that night? Have you heard that
FBI?
one?
The FBI has a thing out there, don't they?
I don't know.
I heard that
Dude,
there was a political official. I'm not going to say which one was there at the same hotel. It was an assassination gone bust. The guy fucking says fuck
Nah.
it, shoots up a country festival, diversion technique.
I don't know about that.
no, see,
but-
a professional assassin wouldn't be coming with that much firepower and all
Really, you don't come with the Walmart?
Hell no, you
fucking
come
shopping
with
cart?
one good
No.
You
one.
come
to
with
do your
one
job, you're
bullet.
gone.
He's-
You come with the Texan church
yeah.
bullet.
Like that guy in Texas just broke the record for like a 3-mile shot or something. Like
What the
that.
fuck are
fucking
you
gnarly
talking
is
about?
that?
That's crazy.
That's intense.
Fuck, I forget. Oh, other question, dude,
Yeah.
is so You guys said that there is a higher kill rate in other countries compared to America, which has more guns. If you put guns into those hands of those citizens, are the killings going down?
And what citizens
In the
out
in
there?
the
I
Brazil-
don't think so because
countries.
of the quality of life.
Brazil right now is probably a really good example of that because they used to ban the use of firearms for their citizens, and then they saw what was happening. They were just constantly getting robbed, like people constantly getting robbed, shot. Murdered,
Brazil's
robbed.
dangerous, right?
Yeah, well now
Super dangerous.
I don't know where it stands currently, but I know that a lot of the citizens were fighting for their right to own firearms so that they could protect themselves. Now, here's the thing: is there's never going to be clear numbers, and even in America, there's never going to be clear numbers on the number of times a firearm was used in self-defense, whether it was fired, whether it was just shown or brandished, or if the person had to use their firearm to actually kill the person that was attacking them. There are some numbers, but there were always never be clear numbers because there's going to be cases that go unreported where somebody drew a firearm on someone, the person ran away, and that case goes unreported because they're not going to like go and tell the cops like, hey, I drew my gun on this guy and he ran away. Maybe they will, but it's not an actual use of the firearm, right? The trigger wasn't pulled. So how does that get documented versus other cases? There's going to always kind of be some gray area in there.
Well, there's not going to be very many statistics anymore as soon as everything is undocumented and everything's legal, right? I mean, there goes all the numbers. It's just going to it's going to be like how many people get in their car and drive a day. I don't fucking know. Like, not everybody who drives to the gas station to pick up a pack of cigarettes reports driving to the gas station. If like
in California, it's always going to be
that might have been fucking stupid.
So let's say that new ruling comes up and they're like, oh, okay, the assault rifle regulations are now mute. That shit's gone. He does away with it. He says it's unconstitutional. Y'all can build your rifles however you want. You guys can put whatever barrel length. You guys can do all that stuff. And then we're all like, cool, all right, we're gonna do that. And then additionally, there's the NFA, which is National Firearms Act. That regulates us even further, saying particular firearms accessories in terms of barrel length and suppressors, which we can and can't have. So that's what we also want to repeal, the NFA, because we want to be able to literally set up our guns however we want. Don't want to have to pay a $500 ticket to exercise a right.
What does this mean for the leverage of cops in dangerous situations? Are cops not supposed to have a somewhat advantage to the situation? If everybody's armed to the fucking teeth and the cops are just people in blue who are just like jail transport.
If criminals, no, it's gonna be the same. Like I was just gonna say, if criminals start building out their rifles,
I'm gonna say criminals most likely have more firepower than the cops, anyways. They already have the hands up.
That's why cops carry AR-15s and assault rifles right now.
Yeah,
because
that shit that popped off in LA, right?
Are they gonna take the guns away from the cops?
No.
No, but again, cops aren't even there to protect you, anyways.
Yeah, so
cops are there to come after the situation's done and take fucking notes. And
is that
what
they do? Is that their job?
No,
it's supposed to be
Supreme
protect and
Court,
serve, right?
He's gonna say there's a Supreme Court.
They're supposed
ruling.
to show up with guns and smoke the fools with guns.
Yeah, but there's a Supreme Court ruling that says that they're not obligated to defend you.
Right there.
They're not. They don't have to put themselves in danger to defend
Just
you.
like the cop that sat outside the school in Florida and let kids get shot while he fucking sat
I
in
think
his
that's
car.
actually where that ruling came from.
Come on, dude.
So, but that's sort of it, right?
How'd that make you guys feel?
Oh,
to learn about that cop sitting outside that school listening to the gunfire going on.
It's even deeper than that.
That guy
bro.
has to live with it for the rest of his life.
The school has an agreement with the cops in that county that they stopped reporting certain instances of kids that were, because it takes away from their funding as a school. So that kid had already been flagged multiple years, but it wasn't getting reported to the police station because then the school loses their funding. And the police and the school had an understanding about that.
He had been flagged?
Yeah.
they were like, let's.
So would you have
let's
sold that?
reduce...
Would you have sold that guy a gun, Shelby?
No, but see, because that's the thing. When people come in and they talk to you and they're like, "Hey, I want to buy a gun," and you ask them, "Hey,
Why are
what's
they
your
gotta
gun
have
for?"
a voice like that, bro?
Well,
Because that's how they talk.
That's what I sound like.
You can ask them like, "Hey, what do you want this gun for?" And if no, like if you're kind of creepy, I'm gonna be like, "Sorry, bro, you don't get a gun."
Yeah,
today."
you get the vibe, right?
Yeah,
you
exactly.
Get the vibe.
That's it. You can tell when someone.
So if everybody's
Once-
denying you guns because you're
a fucking weirdo,
then that's just
Then
what
you
it
just
is.
have to
There you
resort to
go.
the black market like criminals do.
which will always be around. Look
Yeah.
at, dude, we sent guns to Mexico,
Oh man!
and our own federal agents got
There's-
killed by those guns.
We
Oh
could get
yeah,
into all
is that
those
that
crazy.
Ed
Fast and
Manifesto?
Furious, bro.
Is that
There's Fast and Furious.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
the
the f-
Iran Contra controversy.
That's a
all
trip.
kinds of shit, dude.
That's
The
a trip.
government has been
That's why.
the
So these
government has
people,
been victimizing people for a very long time.
you want
dude.
them to be the only ones that have weapons?
What's the goal? What's the goal for that? Is it to put people away in prison?
Well, the two things that we just mentioned, so Iran Contra and then Fast and Furious, those are two separate things, and they
Yeah.
basically had two separate goals. They
That-
I don't know
was
what.
that them arming the cartels?
Yes.
Is that what that was with
So
pistols? And
they
See what
did
they just
it
did to get Little
under-
Chapo out?
They did it, so they sold weapons, like good weapons, like real fucking SWAT.
like gold-plated
No,
AK-47s.
they do that. They do.
That's
no,
what they have.
No,
when
no,
they
no.
have money.
With candy
I'm talking
skulls on
about-
them and shit.
I'm talking about like real military grade weaponry. They sold to the cartels under the guise that they were going to like
Track
track
them.
the serial numbers or like do something to help find someone.
Oh, they were to go get. Okay, so it's like you give them really good guns. The guns end up on the people who are scared. The guns end up with the people who are fucking bad dudes. You go track the fucking guns.
Exactly.
You found the bad guy because he's holding the gun.
Yeah.
You track.
which was a bad idea to begin with, because how do you track a gun like that?
It's the
You
United
can't.
States, bro.
Yeah.
They got it all figured out.
Well-
How'd that end up for all of our viewers out there? How did that end up?
Probably really bad because,
Yeah,
because
was it
those
a
guns are
disaster?
still there in Mexico. They're all still there.
Yeah, didn't inadvertently we just end up, when I say we, the U.S. government, didn't the U.S. government just inadvertently end up arming the entire cartel with
yeah, exactly.
serious
U.S.
weaponry?
federal agents got killed by those guns that were sold to them.
Oh my
And then
God.
you look at what just happened with Chapo's son. They arrested El Chapo's son, and the cartels, having such heavy power, fucking stood down the whole Mexican army, and they released Chapo's son because they didn't want to have to. They couldn't fight that battle.
Because they were too armed.
Oh,
They were overpowered.
ridiculous.
Yeah, they were not even necessarily outnumbered, but just like, well, what are we gonna do? This is
Now-
like gonna mess everything up if we like that. So, from what I understand is, they kind of stumbled onto that guy, El Chapo's son. They weren't necessarily trying to capture him, but they did. And so then they were like, oh well, we kind of like, what do we do? Like, we kind of like have to take him in. And then so like once they took him in, then it was like, okay, well, what do we do? Because the cartel's about to just start killing everyone in the city.
Yeah.
So they had to let him go.
Fuck.
Dude, have you seen that stuff where there's like what are the people in Utah?
Oh, the Mormons. Yeah. So there's a group.
the Mormon
there's
camps
a-
down in Mexico.
There's a van.
the Romneys and all of them.
So what cartels are doing now, there's actually some really interesting well, I don't want to say interesting, but there's a video that captures this very well. Is the cartels will set up on highways, roadblock. They'll just block the entire highway. So as cars drive up, they make you stop. They take your stuff. They take your truck. If you have a nice off-road truck, they're taking it. There's a video of a guy drives up and he's like, what the fuck is this? Turns around, books it over the center divider and like gets the fuck out of there. But you could see all the cartel guys. They're like, no. They like start chasing him. It's crazy.
Where's this?
They're in
Mexico.
Mexico. So there are Mormon communities in Mexico that one was recently, basically they moved back because they think what happened was these families packed Suburbans, like 12, like 8 kids and like 4 adults in each Suburban. They think they drove up onto one of those roadblocks and they either tried to ram through it or like run away, and the cartel just blasted them all, killed them all, set the cars on fire.
How many died?
I think it was like 40.
A lot, and like
Something
one
like that.
11-year-old kid got away or something like that.
Yeah.
So he was able to tell the
I think it was
story
like
of what
30 or
happened.
40.
And like infants were killed. The
Yeah,
moms that were driving them were
all of
killed.
them. So then all this Mormon community started moving back from Mexico.
But those Mormon communities down there don't play, dude. There's ones that
they're armed
they
up
got
too.
guns too, bro.
Yeah, they're armed up.
They hold it down for themselves out there.
Yeah.
Why aren't they up here?
Well,
Why are they doing their thing down there? The weather?
It's like no, it's like a long fucking history of the polygamy started getting banned up here, and so they went to Mexico because it was still able to do it down there.
Yeah.
And then they just set up ranches and stuff, and they have big families. Like I said, Romney is one of the big family names.
When you
that are
say
down there.
Romney, Mitt Romney?
Mitt Romney.
Mhm.
His family has got a compound down there.
People don't know that about Mitt Romney?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's why he, being a Republican, wasn't too crazy about the border situation and dealing with illegals, because he has family that needs to go back and forth across the border, and that, I mean, by all they're Mexicans down there basically.
And they're Mexican citizens?
I'm not sure how that works.
They might have
Because
dual
if they're American
citizenship,
citizens, I
but-
mean, that's the thing, is like, it's not, to my understanding, the wall isn't like an impermeable like fucking wall. That's
No,
a million
even the
feet
new
up.
Well,
wall that's
customs
being
can deny
built.
you entry. You could go over as an American citizen, and then you try to come back, and they'll be like, "No, you did such and such," or
You can go over there. You can go into Mexico as an American citizen and try to come back, and they'd be like, "No, dude, no."
yeah, especially
You're-
if you go and commit
you're
crimes in
Mexico
Mexico.
now.
If you go, if you go and commit crimes in Mexico, I mean, maybe I can.
Fuck.
I don't. If you're a U.S. citizen, I doubt that they would do that.
Yeah.
But
They can.
you know, it's just like Canada. Canada, you could go try to go into Canada, and they'll be like, "Oh, you got a DUI?
Canada's
Sorry,
not-
bro."
Canada's
I can't go to
a
Canada
fucking
right now.
play. Really?
I just hit the 10-year though, so I'm gonna figure out how to get it expunged off my record.
Yeah.
What are you getting expunged off your record?
the
You wanna
DUI.
talk- Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's so
but they won't let me in right now with that, just because of that. And then I'd go there and
Crazy.
say "fuck Canada," and then I get thrown in jail.
Well, you think it's gonna get any easier for us once we're fucking armed to the teeth? Canada's not gonna be playing with us. They're gonna be like, "You can't fucking come in here."
Well, Canada just allowed their citizens to get blown up in that plane crash in Iran. And what are they? They're not doing shit. They want
What
to put the pressure on us.
What are you saying?
You don't know about that?
What's going on, guys?
Are you familiar with like what's happening in Iran?
Okay, to my understanding, there is the right hand man to the Ayatollah. Is that it in Iran?
Pretty much, yeah.
Soleimani.
Yeah.
Soleimani, who is responsible for not tens of thousands, however many, a big number,
A lot.
of American lives who and
Not just Americans.
Iranian lives too.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A ton of lives, including veterans who are disabled here. This guy I forget the term, in reach has affected all of these people.
Mm.
And there was a holdup at the embassy. There's photos of him at an American embassy where Americans were killed in Iran. And Donald Trump pretty much said, "We don't play that shit," and shot it and blew him. Oh, it was a sniper.
No, it wasn't a sniper.
yeah,
he like sniped him from the sky.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
the
blew-
fucking
predator
drone
drone.
took him out.
He blew him up.
He predatored him.
And to my understanding, and I'm gonna keep going, Iran said, "This okay, bitches. This is our jihad flag," and it was over 8 hours later.
So they attacked an embassy that was in Iraq.
Right.
Right. Nobody was killed. They broke in. They
Oh.
burned down the office area. The
Oh,
front portion
nobody
of it.
died?
Yeah. But because our president took action and sent backup, unlike what happened in Benghazi, when they were under distress, they called for help and nothing was sent to them. The embassy in
Which
Iraq.
Hillary Clinton, for those that's the Benghazi situation.
Yeah.
Hillary Clinton
Yeah.
was under fire for.
American lives were lost because we took no action to help
Yeah,
them.
that's the Benghazi.
Versus this one, they sent out a distress signal, and we had 100 Marines there in a
Mhm.
matter of minutes to hours, whatever.
That's bad news.
Stopped everything. Everything was stopped, and they were protected because our president decided to take action and protect our interests overseas. Right?
And that's 100% the truth.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's too bad. And I'm gonna let you keep going, but I mean, you got to praise the dude for something like that.
Well, that's
right?
why, again, you don't have to like him. You don't have to like what he says on
Exactly.
Twitter.
Definitely.
But
would
the
agree with
policies
that,
and
actually.
actions that are measurable, that's where, and I get a lot of shit for it because voting history, right? Obama was the first president that we were old enough to vote for. I like the guy. He's an amazing speaker. He got my vote the very first time. He spent 4 years in office. I saw his actions not lining up with what he said. He did not get my vote the second time around.
Which is
Trump.
Which is your right
Oh yeah, for
to
sure.
not only vote that way, but to not be judged by anybody.
Yeah. Dude, I'm so give zero fucks about what I care what people think, but I don't really care what people think, right? Like I want to be a good guy, but I don't give a fuck what people think.
For sure. Good guy and that.
I talked a massive amount of shit on Trump the whole time he was running, the whole time he was campaigning, everything.
Yeah.
Even when he got elected, I was like, man, fuck this guy, right? He started doing things in certain policies that I believe are beneficial to us. And so
is it
now
true unemployment is like at an all-time low?
Yeah, but you can't credit that all to him, just like you can't credit it all to Obama. It really started, as shitty as it may seem, back in Bush. And it's maintained and gone lower. So there is a lower unemployment rate.
Okay.
But it's not all because of what Trump has done.
I've heard from the conservative side, I've heard that unemployment is all-time low, and like employment in the minority community or poverty in the minority community is an all-time low as well.
Because what they look at is Mexicans and
shit.
blacks and what that unemployment rate looks like.
For sure.
And that is at an all-time low.
I
Can't credit it all to him, just like you can't credit the stock market being as high as it is all because of him. There's things that happen and things happen cyclically as well. So now, getting ready to go into this election, I identify as a libertarian, right? So I like to say that I'm socially liberal and fiscally responsible.
For sure.
Conservative. Sorry, responsible. I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah, I got you're not allowed
and
to say that.
so my last 2 votes have gone towards libertarian candidates, and I think policy wise, I believe Trump's going to win again, especially these last 2 things that they've gone through, the impeachment process and the whole Russiagate shit. I think that has pretty much guaranteed him the next election. But when you look at candidates and just their policies, and this is something that we spent a lot of time over the last weekend looking at, we're going to see the least amount of change if Trump stays in office, right? So the economy, everything, we'll see the least amount of change. The next up would be Biden. Biden would cause the least amount of change in the stock market.
Biden's got that shit going on though, right?
He's a fucking weirdo, bro. He touches little kids and shit.
Yeah,
and
that's
plenty
what I
of
hear.
documentation and video
but his
out on
kids in the what is it, the Czech Republic or what's the
Dude, he's so done. There's no way.
there's some weird things
Oh,
going on.
half of the candidates over there, their kids work for the oil companies and stuff in Ukraine, and they're getting money, all kinds of shit. Yeah, dude.
I hear some stuff. I don't know if Biden.
They're putting shit on Trump for wanting to investigate and know more about things because they're doing bad shit on the other side,
like
and
the
they're making it
UFO
look like
Epstein.
he is the one that's doing the bad shit, but he's not.
Yeah.
That's the other thing with the mainstream media and all this. So basically, it comes down to I'm pretty sure I'm gonna vote for Trump this next time around.
You're entitled to vote for whoever you want to vote for, and it's too bad that we live in a day and age where your character is defined by who
I laugh at the people that are no longer friends with people because of political shit.
It's too bad.
I think it's hilarious.
And you know what? My girlfriend, she has done nothing but just comment. Just comment on some of the things that were going on. I won't say. But she has friends who are pretty much on some delete my number shit, and it's really too bad because they've been friends for years. And again, we had mentioned like some people find their identities, like they get really wrapped up, like it's a team effort. Like no, this is our team, and like if our team doesn't win, like we're gonna fucking riot in the streets, and it's dude.
I for sure I had a girl that we went to high school with block me because her and her husband were calling people, like basically calling Trump supporters racist, and I was saying the exact same thing that we're saying here. Just because someone supports or agrees with his policies does not make that person inherently racist.
Yeah.
And she blocked me,
Yeah.
and I was like, is this like Like we're both raising sons. Like let's like try to do better a little bit.
You said
Like,
that?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
heavy.
Like well, yeah. I don't want my son to grow up
Yeah.
in a place where he's gonna be accused of being racist just
Yeah.
for having some political belief.
Yeah, that's
like the Trump card. Everyone thinks, oh, I can call you a racist, and argument's over. Like you
No-
no longer get an opinion because
Now,
you're a racist.
Let me ask you, Angel. I have to. As your as you agree with Trump policies, has anybody ever? Because I'm a white dude. Has anybody ever brought up the fact that you're Mexican? And
Oh,
that
all
you
the time, dude. I'm part of a group, a Facebook group. It's called Lexit. It's the Latino exit from the Democrat community. And
dope.
dude, you would really be surprised. I have a ton of black people. Really, are the ones that get mad at me. But there's a ton of black people that are Trump supporters. But
Yeah.
because they're so closed off in where they see information and that they're not willing to say that there's a possibility that minorities would be for this president, they're tripping, bro. I work with a lot of Mexican people that came over here legally that are against people just coming over willy-nilly doing all this shit. There's a process. They went through that process. And granted, it may have taken a long time, but they did it, right? So they don't believe that people should just be able to come over the border whenever they feel like and do whatever the fuck they want. There's a huge group of Latinos and blacks and everything that are leaving the Democratic Party at huge numbers.
That's so weird that like a general like group of people is quote unquote leaving the Democratic Party. Like
that's the way it's like.
it's strange.
Society's like
because they've
almost
always
built-
counted on that vote.
It's almost built in a way that it's like, oh, the Democratic Party is the good party, and
Yeah.
if you're a
The
minority
more
race,
ethical forward party.
yeah,
right?
and if you're like a minority race, then you should be
You have to vote
Democrat because that's like they're gonna give you stuff.
Well, that's what I grew up on. I grew up on we're Democrats because we're on the lower economic scale, and that's who we vote. They have our best intentions in mind, and that's how we vote. We're Democrats because we're not as wealthy as everyone
Now
else.
is that a ploy to get you?
112%,
guys
bro.
just fucking.
How do you
vote
fight?
policy?
How do you
Low
fight against
IQ,
free
man.
shit?
They're playing in the lowest IQ.
Oh, I get free college. I get free this. I get free that. Yeah, they got my vote.
Yeah, I forget who had mentioned it to me, but somebody had said, yeah, you have to understand that like that scare tactic is a brilliant business model. Just convince everybody how much you need them, and then all of a sudden you got fucking votes.
It's like there's a thing and the meme. I forget exactly how it goes, but it's like the government comes in, breaks your leg, offers you a free wheelchair, and now you vote for them because they supplied you with a free wheelchair.
Yeah,
But they also broke your fucking leg.
yeah,
Right?
yeah. This is fucking trippy, boys. We did it. It's 2 hours 30 minutes, and we're just fucking ongoing.
I gotta leave in 5 minutes anyway.
Let's start a fucking talk show.
Yeah, you're Iran. I was gonna tell you two more things
sorry.
that happened after Iran. Oh yeah, they sent missiles towards the American base, but like not like
Yeah, on the
at
outskirts.
it. Yeah, they
Yeah.
like because they knew if they would have fucking hit the base that they'd be fucking.
It would've-
Did you see
They'd
that?
be dead.
It would have been
The
drawn
video, the
overnight.
defense video, our anti-missile defense.
Yeah.
that is the dopest
Iron
fucking
Dome. Dude,
video
check
that I've
out-
ever seen.
Check
bro.
out the Israeli Iron Dome. Just Google Israeli Iron Dome.
Yeah.
They have amazing videos of it.
the way that
It's
they're
so
shooting down those
cool.
missiles. Is
It's
nuts,
so
bro.
cool.
Israeli Iron Dome.
It's in Israel. It's called the Iron Dome, and basically, you just gotta look it up. Dude.
Okay,
It's
we'll
fucking
look
cool.
it up.
And then
Boys,
hold on, there's one more thing.
sorry.
And then Iran accidentally shot down a Ukrainian passenger jet.
That's what we
he
needed
was
to tell
talking
you.
about.
Iran shot down a passenger airplane
Video.
containing Ukrainian citizens and like a bunch of Canadian citizens. Shot it twice,
So yeah, there's a video.
Oh yeah, 2 missiles.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
and it's Trump's fault.
They denied it.
I
They
forgot.
have now come
who's
out
the
to say that it was
CIA
their
guy?
fault.
Who's the CIA guy on Rogan who was talking
Steele?
about that? No, he's Baker.
Mike Baker.
Mike Baker.
Yeah,
I was listening to him talk about it. Yeah, fucking bananas.
Yeah.
All right, boys.
All right,
this was epic.
Until
Let's start a
next
fucking
time.
talk show. We fucking did it. I'm gonna get back on the podcast horse, but this was so much fun. Honestly, if I feel bad, we're gonna get a better chair for Angel, but let's do this shit again sooner than later. You know.
Yeah.
I'm down.
We got Alan Rush coming on later, but it doesn't matter. Check out the Israeli Iron Dome and check out fucking Shelby's. Excuse the pun for all of the gun safety shit, and then Angel's on his way to the top to be a fucking billionaire. So
Buy a house
check
from
that shit.
him.
So buy a house from him
There you
because
go.
he's gonna rule the world and be in the Illuminati, and it's
Let-
nice to have friends in high places.
Let's shoot shotguns after Alan comes on.
Oh, that would be tight, dude. We'll all
Okay.
shoot shotguns, and you can bring your fucking your stinger, your fucking bazooka
My bazooka.
later.
Later.
That was fucking epic,
That's good.
boys.